Chapter 1248. At the same time, Lin Tian also propped up the reincarnation diagram. The vast and mighty aura of a supreme god and saint instantly magnified by countless times, completely enveloping the immortal heaven formation. Light radiated in all directions. "Sorry," he said again. With a slight thought, the dense sword radiance and the reincarnation diagram pressed down together. This was an unparalleled power, but there was no killing intent at all. Instead, it was very gentle. This was because he was not dealing with enemies. His intention was to free these blood souls. In the next moment, the sword radiance and the reincarnation diagram covered all directions. The light enveloped everything and drowned everything. The divine light was very dense, blocking one's vision. The vicious and ferocious roars disappeared in an instant, and the place quieted down. When the divine light dissipated, it was still a flat ground. The murderous aura in the air disappeared, and so did the densely packed blood souls. Wisps of wind swept by. "It's settled," Wishing Crocodile said. Lin Tian looked around and nodded slightly. He took a deep breath, looked at the desolate shrine, and turned to leave. However, at this moment, the quiet space suddenly trembled slightly, and rays of light lit up on their own. These rays of light were like stars, pure white, and very pure. Moreover, they carried the power of the soul. Buzz! The light flickered, and the soul power in this space became denser. Then, in the next moment, densely packed soul shadows appeared. There were old people in their twilight years, youths, and young girls in their prime. There were even soul shadows carrying young babies. Wishing Crocodile's expression changed, and his demonic eyes widened. "This is? Ya?" Little Taichu also widened his eyes. Lin Tian was also moved, revealing a look of surprise. These soul shadows were clearly the blood souls that he had shattered with the reincarnation diagram, and the reincarnation diagram. They had actually reappeared. At the same time, he discovered another point. That was, these soul shadows were different from before. They were not ferocious and venomous. They seemed peaceful. "Thank you?" A soul voice was heard, floating in this space. Within the range of the immortal heavenly formation, all the soul shadows looked at Lin Tian with deep gratitude. Then, in the next moment, these soul shadows began to blur. In the blink of an eye, they turned into pure white light beams that shot into the sky like a rain of light and disappeared in the blink of an eye. In an instant, the place became quiet again. "This is terminal lucidity? Weren't they all crushed just now? How could such a thing happen? The baleful aura has disappeared, and he still has his original consciousness." Wishing Crocodile stared at him in disbelief. Lin Tian frowned. "That's a pure soul." He could tell that those soul shadows were pure souls, but he didn't understand why that would happen. Could it be that the towering heaven sword radiance and the reincarnation diagram only cut off their baleful aura and resentment, freeing their originally pure souls from the baleful aura and resentment? And then they disappear on their own? He muttered to himself. He frowned as he thought about this, but then shook his head. Forget it. This scene was a little strange, but it was a good ending. Although he didn't understand, he didn't want to think too much about it. He looked at the ancient buildings of the Desolation Godly Palace. He didn't destroy many of them before, so he walked over. After all, the Desolation Godly Palace was one of the top forces in the 10 Directions heavenly domain. After countless years, the Desolation Godly Palace must have accumulated a lot of treasures. Now that the Desolation Godly Palace had been destroyed, he naturally had to search for these treasures and take them away. Let's go and see what treasures this godly palace has. Wishing Crocodile clicked his tongue. Soon, the man and the 2 beasts arrived at the Desolation Godly Palace and began to search for the treasure room where the treasures of this godly palace were stored. Clang! A stone door covered with ancient runes was pushed open. There were many precious weapons on display, all shining with cold light. Some of the precious weapons even let out clanging sounds as if they had souls, exuding an extremely fierce, murderous aura. Lin Tian glanced around and found that there were 3 quasi-heavenly treasures, dozens of sacred weapons, hundreds of divine weapons, and countless Tao weapons, immortal weapons, and other precious weapons of other levels. He waved his hand and put away all the precious weapons. Let's continue to the next place, Wishing Crocodile said. Soon, they opened the scripture vault of the Desolation Godly Palace. There were many precious skills of this godly palace, all of which were extraordinary. Among them, there were 2 ancient scriptures that were the most valuable. They were respectively the Desolate Ancient Formation Canon and the Formation Origin Wondrous Technique. They were both Emperor-level ancient scriptures that included cultivation methods and many formation techniques. They were extremely astonishing. Moreover, this godly palace also collected another ancient scripture of the Emperor level, called the 9 Paths to Godhood. It was also very powerful and shockingly valuable. In addition, there were many other precious skills of various levels. Not bad. Lin Tian muttered to himself and put away all the ancient scriptures. There were many halls in the Desolation Godly Palace. They left the scripture vault and soon opened another hall. It was the elixir vault of the Desolation Godly Palace. There were all kinds of baodan and herbs inside. Not only was there a baodan that could temporarily increase one's cultivation, but there were also immortal pills like the Imperial Air Pill that could permanently increase one's cultivation. Next place, Wishing Crocodile said. The group continued to search, opening one hall after another. There were all kinds of treasures and rare treasures. After all, the Desolation Godly Palace had been passed down for countless years. After such a long time, there would naturally be a lot of good things accumulated. Crack! When another treasure vault was opened, there was a flash of light inside. There was an extremely rich fluctuation of spiritual qi. There were piles of Lingjing and immortal Lingjing. Lin Tian roughly glanced and found that the total amount of Lingjing was about 500 million pounds. It's much less than the 8th Netherworld Lord, Wishing Crocodile said. When they were in the sealed dust ancient region, they had seized more than 3 billion pounds of Lingjing in the 8th Netherworld Lord. The Netherworld race is a super race. Their inheritance is many times older than the Desolation Godly Palace. They sit in the huge sealed dust ancient region. Such a big race's territory naturally has more Lingjing than the Desolation Godly Palace, Lin Tian now said. Soon after, they searched through every single great hall of the desolate divine palace. They found many treasures, all of them quite extraordinary. In the end, the treasure weapons, baodan, ancient scriptures, Lingjing, herbs, and other rare treasures were all plundered. It's very rich, Wishing Crocodile said. Lin Tian nodded. The value of this godly palace's heritage was indeed amazing. The next moment, the dragon runes under his feet flickered and shook the ground, revealing the scene below the Desolation Godly Palace. Below it was the foundation of the Desolation Godly Palace. There were 3 super dragons circling below, all of which were divine veins. At the same time, there were dozens of source veins, hundreds of immortal veins, and tens of thousands of spirit veins. When combined, the spiritual energy was terrifying. As expected of the foundation of a top force, Wishing Crocodile praised. 3 divine veins, dozens of source veins, hundreds of immortal veins, and tens of thousands of spirit veins. Such a foundation was really powerful. The dragon runes under Lin Tian's feet spread. With his emperor-level cultivation, he activated the dragon burial scripture and compressed the immortal veins, source veins, and divine veins into inch-sized dragons. It's about time, he said and called out to Wishing Crocodile and Little Taichu. They slowly rose into the air and arrived at the highest point of the godly palace. Clang! 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 Sword chimes sounded one after another. Dense sword lights appeared and shrouded the entire Desolation Godly Palace. He had collected all the heritage of this godly palace. He wanted to completely destroy this place. Kid, wait a minute. Wishing Crocodile obviously knew what Lin Tian was going to do. He said, Aren't you going to start a sect in the future? You need many palaces. Collect all the palaces that are still intact and move them over. Lin Tian's eyes lit up when he heard that. Not bad. He nodded. This idea was very good. He had never thought of this before. As he spoke, he directly propped up a macro world with his mind. As far as the eye could see, in this macro world, the sky was blue, the mountains were towering, and the rivers flowed endlessly. It was as if it was a real macro world. After a cultivator reached the Emperor realm, they could evolve a micro world of their own. Since Yishiwen had reached the Emperor realm, he naturally evolved such a micro world. At this time, he pulled it apart. This micro world is a little extraordinary. Whooshing Crocodile stared at the micro world propped up by Lin Tian and praised. Then, he showed a hint of surprise. By the way, why do I feel the same aura as the Stone of Fortune Immortal Stone in here? Maybe it's because I have refined a piece of Stone of Fortune Immortal Stone. Lin Tian now. Really? After refining that thing, even the micro world evolved by the Emperor realm will have that kind of aura? Whooshing Crocodile was suspicious. Besides this, there is no other explanation. Lin Tian now. He didn't care about this. He expanded the micro world and collected all the extraordinary ancient buildings in the Desolation Godly Palace. There were as many as 900 of them, and each of them was extremely extraordinary and magnificent. He nodded secretly. He wanted to build an immortal sacred ground in the future, and needed many palaces. Now that he had collected these palaces, he only needed to do some work, and they could be used directly. This saved him a lot of trouble. He closed the micro world and looked down at the Desolation Godly Palace that was already very empty. The dense towering heaven sword light that he had summoned previously destroyed the place where the Desolation Godly Palace was established in the blink of an eye, turning it into ruins. Let's go, he said. He called out to Whooshing Crocodile and Little Taichu and left directly. In the blink of an eye, they were far away from the Desolation Godly Palace. They crossed several mountains and headed toward the Yinyang sect. Chapter 1249. Listening to Whooshing Crocodile's words, Lin Tianwei narrowed his eyes slightly. Okay, he said. This idea is indeed good. Showing his strength to the world is very useful for recruiting talents after establishing a great sect. At that moment, he shook his divine sense, and divine sense imprints appeared one after another. He then opened a crack in the void and attacked the east, west, north, and south regions of this heaven. The contents of these images were the scenes after he entered the desolate shrine. They were very clear and displayed in the sky above the east, west, north, and south regions, causing many cultivators to be shocked. Lin Tian, that reincarnation body, has reappeared? It's only been 5 years he has reached the Emperor realm? This, an Emperor realm reincarnation body? The desolate shrine was actually destroyed by him? He single-handedly destroyed a great sect. In the past, the desolate shrine targeted the reincarnation body several times. Rumor has it that the old ancestor of this lineage even went to fight for the reincarnation body. Now, after 5 years, the reincarnation body directly destroyed this great sect. Is this revenge for the past? Annihilating such a powerful force on his own, this is the power of the strongest monarch body? This person is really, as terrifying as ever. Many cultivators were shocked. After 5 years, Lin Tian reached the Emperor realm and single-handedly destroyed the desolate shrine, a great sect in this heaven. This was a shocking matter. One has to know that the desolate shrine had been passed down for countless years, but now, it was destroyed just like that. In the blink of an eye, it set off a huge wave in the 9th heaven, shaking the world. At the same time, the divine sense imprints released by Lin Tian also included the Immortal Heaven Array and the countless blood souls in the Immortal Heaven Array. This matter shocked many cultivators in the 4 great domains, and many of them showed angry expressions. A few years ago, when the reincarnation body was in the Taichu Immortal Ridge, he said that the desolate shrine was engraving a super array in an attempt to break through the eternal barrier of the 10th heaven, and the source of the array was the souls of countless creatures. It turned out to be true. How many blood souls are there? Those bastards, how dare they do something so outrageous? Those are at least hundreds of thousands of innocent lives. Not only that, they didn't even spare a baby in swaddling clothes. Many people were furious. For a time, the ninth heaven was in an uproar. As the psychic imprint spread in all directions, everyone was shocked. At the same time, the Holy Yin-Yang sect, the Immortal Sword Island, and the Heavenly Demon Divine sect also saw the divine consciousness imprint, and all of them were shocked. How can this be? The Desolation Divine Palace was destroyed? 5 years ago, he was only at the sixth sky of Nirvana realm. After disappearing for 5 years, he actually reached the Emperor realm? Many great figures from these three great powers could no longer remain calm. Many of them revealed looks of shock. He had single-handedly destroyed a top-notch major power. Such power was truly terrifying. One should know that the Desolate Shrine had the 10-direction killing formation, a top-notch heavenly treasure, and the immortal killing formation. However, none of them could do anything to Lin Tian. He will also deal with us? In the several great powers, a group of great figures changed their expressions, and the ordinary disciples were even more horrified. In the past, the Desolation Divine Palace targeted Lin Tian, and the old ancestor of the Desolation Divine Palace seized the reincarnation origin. Now that Lin Tian had appeared, he directly destroyed the Desolation Divine Palace and used the Divine Consciousness imprint. This was obviously a demonstration, telling the world that he was not someone to be trifled with. Whoever dared to provoke him would have to pay a heavy price. In the past, these great powers had done the same thing as the Desolation Divine Palace. Now that the Desolation Divine Palace was destroyed, would it be their turn next? What should we do? The three great powers were anxious at this moment. In addition to these three great powers, the legendary Saber Pavilion, which was also a top force, also panicked at this moment. Will he also attack us? Some of the quasi-emperors of this lineage were deeply worried. In the past, they had also attacked Lin Tian, vainly attempting to seize many of the heavenly venerate ancient scriptures from Lin Tian. Later, the legendary Saber Pavilion suffered a great calamity because the traitor of the Little Taichu, causing them to be wary of the Little Taichu, and did not dare to attack Lin Tian again. After Lin Tian was rumored to be a reincarnated body, they also did not go to seize the reincarnation origin. However, now that such news had spread, their hearts still trembled, because no matter what, they had vainly attempted to kill Lin Tian back then. Don't worry too much. It is said that the old ancestor of the Desolation Divine Palace was weakened by the heavenly venerate expert behind Lin Tian back then, dropping to the second layer of the Emperor realm. Although he had recovered in the past 5 years, he has not recovered to his peak strength. On the other hand, the old ancestor of our legendary Saber Pavilion has not lost his cultivation and is still at the 9th layer of the Emperor realm. Even if a reincarnated body wants to deal with us, it should not be that easy. But that's an Emperor-level reincarnated body! And that little beast beside him, the origin of that little beast. The quasi-emperors of this lineage trembled in fear. When they thought of the terrifying scene a few years ago, when the heavenly venerate divined the Little Taichu, they could not help but tremble. The scene at that time was too terrifying, as if the world was about to be destroyed. That damned heavenly venerate! Someone gritted his teeth and pushed all the blame to the heavenly venerate who had died tragically when divining the Little Taichu. If it were not for the heavenly venerate adding fuel to the fire, they might not have acted against Lin Tian, and they would not have such concerns now. At this time, not only were the quasi-emperors of this lineage worried, even the few Emperor Realm experts, and the old ancestor at the 9th layer of the Emperor Realm were silent with worry in their eyes. This was because Lin Tian was not an ordinary Emperor Realm expert, but a Super Emperor Realm expert who could destroy the Desolation Divine Palace alone. He had the strongest physique of the Emperor Realm, the Reincarnation Emperor. Eastern Region, Demon King Palace. As expected of the Demon King's elder brother. It has only been 5 years, but he has already reached such a height. An Emperor-level reincarnated body. Reaching the Emperor level with the strongest monarch physique, there are not many people in this world who can be his opponent. The eyes of the 3 Emperor-level elders of this lineage glowed. Eastern region, ethereal mountain. The Violet Fairy was with Wu Yi, so she naturally saw the divine consciousness imprints that Lin Tian sent out. Very strong, this is how it should be. She had a smile on her face. Wu Yi was very calm as she boiled tea at the side. She glanced at the bottom of ethereal mountain before retracting her gaze. Linger, go into seclusion. She transmitted her voice. The Violet Fairy looked at Wu Yi and stuck out her tongue. The big show led by my elder brother has only just begun. He will probably make a move against the sacred Yin-Yang sect and the Emperor Realm experts who went alone. I will go into seclusion after I finish watching. Don't worry, after 3 days of seclusion, I will enter the heavenly venerable rank, she said. Back then, the experts of the 10-direction sky domain went to seize Lin Tian's reincarnation origin. She had learned the entire process from Wu Yi. She understood Lin Tian very well and knew that destroying the Desolation Divine Palace was only the first step. Wu Yi did not say anything else. She finished boiling tea and filled the Violet Fairy's cup. The entire ninth heaven was in an uproar. Whether it was some powerful sects or powerful rogue cultivators, they were all shocked by the divine sense imprint made by Lin Tian. All the cultivators were discussing this matter. It was also at this time that Lin Tian crossed the mountains, tore through the void, and brought the wishing crocodile and the little Taichu to another group of immortal mountains in the western region. Looking around, there were magnificent palaces in the immortal mountains. The scale was huge, not inferior to the Desolation Divine Palace in the slightest. Outside the palaces, there were thick yin and yang auras intertwined. Sacred yin-yang sect! The whooshing crocodile laughed. Squeak! The little Taichu waved its little claws and pointed straight ahead, as if expressing the meaning of kill. The little guy remembered very clearly that the sacred yin-yang sect had targeted Lin Tian several times. The old ancestor of this lineage went to seize Lin Tian's reincarnation origin. With a sneer on his face, Lin Tian stepped out of the immortal mountains and walked toward the sacred yin-yang sect. In the blink of an eye, he stepped on the void and arrived at the periphery of the sacred yin-yang sect. Looking at it from a close distance, the sacred yin-yang sect looked even more magnificent. The main hall was covered with all kinds of divine runes, and the materials were very extraordinary. Most of them were made of various strange stones and precious metals. He stepped on the void and came here without any concealment. He was directly discovered by the yin-yang disciples guarding outside. Reincarnation! Reincarnation form! Someone shouted in fear. Reincarnation form is here! He is here to kill! The few disciples of the yin-yang sect who were guarding outside trembled in fear. Because this lineage had seen Lin Tian's spiritual imprint, and because they had targeted Lin Tian before, all the disciples of this great sect were very nervous. They were very afraid that Lin Tian Sha would come, so they had been very vigilant. Now that Lin Tian stepped forward, these people immediately trembled and ran into the sect. At the same time, they shouted loudly to warn others. What? He really came? What do we do? The desolate divine palace has been destroyed. Can we stop him? For a moment, panicked voices sounded from within the sacred yin-yang sect. All the disciples of this lineage were terrified. Lin Tian stepped on the void and appeared outside the sacred yin-yang sect. Naturally, he could hear these voices, so he directly stepped inside. When he truly entered the yin-yang sect, he instantly sensed an even thicker yin-yang aura. Those ancient buildings appeared even more majestic, and some of them were even frighteningly tall. They were like primordial mountains, and their auras were majestic. Brat, remember not to destroy the palaces when you attack later. Move them all back to the sect, Wishing Crocodile said. Understood. Chapter 1250. Lin Tian stepped into the sacred yin-yang sect. His expression was calm as he looked around the sacred yin-yang sect. Go to the sky and guard. Just like in the desolate shrine, kill anyone who tries to escape, he said. Little Taichu squeaked and left with Wishing Crocodile. They flew to the highest point of the sacred yin-yang sect and looked down. This, Many disciples in the sacred yin-yang sect were terrified. A group of important figures walked out one after another, but they were all in a panic. Even the leader of the sect was no exception. He felt a chill down his spine. Lin Tian, our sect has offended you in the past. If you want any compensation, just say it. We'll try our best to satisfy you, the man said. He knew that Lin Tian had reached the emperor rank and was an emperor rank reincarnated body. His eyes were full of fear. Lin Tian looked down at the man. Compensation? Just destroy this place. His voice was calm. The sacred yin-yang sect leader trembled and gritted his teeth. You, don't go too far. I'm going too far today. What can you do to me? Lin Tian's expression was calm. The sacred yin-yang sect leader's face turned pale. He seemed to feel that Lin Tian was determined to destroy this place, and couldn't change his mind. He gritted his teeth. Don't be too arrogant. Even if you've reached the emperor rank, don't think that you can really destroy the sacred yin-yang sect. If you really make a move and force the grand elders and old ancestor into a corner, you might be the one who dies. You'd better. Clang. The air vibrated, and a sword slashed down from the sky. The sacred yin-yang sect leader's words were interrupted. He was terrified and quickly dodged. However, he couldn't dodge at all. In the next moment, the sword light pierced into the sacred yin-yang sect leader's body and shattered his body. Even his soul was destroyed. Sacred yin-yang sect leader! The disciples and important figures in the sacred yin-yang sect were terrified. Their sacred yin-yang sect leader was killed in a single strike. You know that Lin Tian destroyed the desolate shrine, but you still dare to threaten him. Do you think an emperor rank reincarnated body is just a decoration? Wishing crocodiles sneered in the sky. Lin Tian stood in the sky and looked into the depths of the sacred yin-yang sect. Boom! 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 Powerful emperor's aura surged as 4 figures rushed over. They were 4 elders and all of them were emperor rank experts. Grand elders! Old ancestor! Inside the yin-yang sect, the disciples, deacons, and elders all looked at the 4 old men. Right now, the survival of the yin-yang sect and their future all depended on these 4 old men. 4 elders walked out. 3 of them were the grand elders of the yin-yang sect. Just like the 3 elders of the desolate shrine, they were all at the 3rd sky of the emperor realm. The last one was the grand elder of this lineage. Back then, his cultivation was weakened by Wu Yi, and he fell from the 9th sky of the emperor realm to the 2nd sky of the emperor realm. After 5 years, he recovered to the 4th sky of the emperor realm. Lin Tian! The yin-yang old ancestor stared at Lin Tian with anger burning in his eyes. Back then, his cultivation was weakened by Wu Yi and he had to use countless heavenly treasures to recover to the 4th sky of emperor realm in these 5 years. Naturally, this made him feel extremely uncomfortable. All of this was because of Lin Tian. Now that he saw Lin Tian, he naturally felt uncomfortable. But compared to his anger, the fear in his eyes was even stronger. Back then, they had forcefully seized the celestial venerate ancient scripture from Lin Tian, and then tried to seize the source of reincarnation. Now that Lin Tian had become a great emperor as a reincarnated body and had come here after destroying the desolate divine palace, his intentions were clearly not good. It was obvious what Lin Tian wanted to do. He had come here with the intent to destroy. Lin Tian looked at this person with a calm expression and walked forward. Clang! Sword cries rang out as they appeared beside him. There were dozens of them, and every single one of them was intertwined with an extremely powerful aura. Struggle with all your heart, he said. As soon as he finished his words, dozens of sword gleams shot out and slashed towards the 4 elders. In an instant, the void was shattered, and the space-time turbulence flowed freely. Junior! The yin-yang old ancestor gritted his teeth with killing intent in his eyes. He shouted to the other 3 elders. Form the 10,000 spirit demon slaying formation! As soon as he finished his words, he formed a seal and unleashed a powerful great emperor's aura. At the same time, the other 3 great elders began to form hand seals as well. Immediately dense inscriptions appeared, covering the entire space and connecting to the ground. Boom! 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 The space here was sealed up. Streams of terrifying spiritual energy surged out from the underground world of this lineage. Together with the dense Tao patterns imprinted in the air, they interweaved into streams of extremely terrifying killing light, trapping Lin Tian within. They used 18 different Emperor-level Tao patterns to communicate with the divine veins and origin veins underground and turn them into killing aura? Wishing Crocodile was shocked. This kind of killing aura was very shocking. It was enough to kill a 9th Heaven Emperor. These old guys are really decisive. They're using the foundation of the Yin-Yang sect as origin energy. After a while, the foundation will be completely destroyed. Boom! The killing lights were so dense that they collapsed the sky. The aura was terrifying. A treasure seal appeared, intertwining with the aura of Yin and Yang. It was the most powerful heavenly treasure of the Yin-Yang sect, the Yin-Yang seal. At this moment, as this heavenly treasure appeared, the Tao patterns in the void became even brighter. The spiritual energy rushing out from the underground also became stronger. The killing aura began to surge, and the killing lights shot into the sky. Such a powerful aura shocked even the little Taichu, who was infinitely close to the heavenly venerable level, and his eyes widened. Boom! The killing aura became even stronger and locked onto Lin Tian. Lin Tian, you forced us to do this, the Yin-Yang Patriarch said coldly. After knowing that Lin Tian had destroyed the desolate shrine, he knew that Lin Tianyi would definitely make a move on the Yin-Yang sect. Therefore, he and the 3 supreme elders of the Yin-Yang sect began to make preparations. They combined the 18 Emperor-level Tao patterns, the foundation of the Yin-Yang sect, and the Yin-Yang seal to form an ultimate killing array. This killing array used the Yin-Yang sect's foundation as the central connection. Together with the 18 Emperor-level Tao patterns and the Yin-Yang seal, it could unleash a terrifying power that could kill anyone below the heavenly venerable level. Suppress. Take the heavenly venerable ancient scripture, the origin of reincarnation. The Yin-Yang Patriarch's eyes were filled with greed. He was afraid of the people behind Lin Tian, but he knew Lin Tian's character. He was determined to destroy the Yin-Yang sect. It was useless to be afraid of the people behind Lin Tian. Now, he and Lin Tian were in a situation where only one of them could survive. Since that was the case, they would suppress Lin Tian and seize the heavenly venerable ancient scripture and the reincarnation origin. Once they got these things, they could hide and wait until they became extremely strong before reappearing. His idea was exactly the same as the people from the desolate shrine. They were all forced into this situation. Suppress. The other 3 supreme elders of the Yin-Yang sect used all their strength to make the myriad demon-slaying array even stronger. All of a sudden, boundless divine light surged out and pressed down on Lin Tian. This kind of divine light was extremely terrifying. Lin Tian immediately felt an incomparably huge pressure. However, his expression did not change at all. Using the divine veins, origin veins, and other foundations to combine with the Tao pattern heavenly treasure to turn into a destructive force. This method is not bad. However, if you want to use this method to deal with me, you've made a mistake, he said. Light flickered under his feet. Dense dragon patterns appeared and disappeared into the underground world of the Yin-Yang sect in the blink of an eye. In an instant, the densely packed Tao patterns in the void shook. The heavenly treasure Yin-Yang seal also shook. No more spiritual energy surged up from the ground. The power of the myriad demon-slaying array was greatly reduced. The Yin-Yang Patriarch's expression changed. You! At the same time, the other 3 supreme elders of the Yin-Yang sect were also shocked. They could not help but tremble. Lin Tian has the dragon burial scripture. With his emperor-level cultivation, it's easy for him to activate the dragon burial scripture and seal the divine veins and origin veins below. He has cut off the origin energy of the myriad demon-slaying array. What power can this array have? In the sky, Wishing Crocodile curled his lips. Yeah! The little Taichu blinked its lively eyes and cheered in a childish voice. The yin-yang old ancestor and the others panicked. The myriad spirit demons slaying formation they had prepared was definitely very strong. At the beginning, they were very confident that they could suppress Lin Tian. But now, it was actually such a scene. This scene was unexpected. You! The four experts could not help but tremble. The myriad demons slaying array was weakened and did not have much killing power. At this moment, they had to face a reincarnated body of a third heaven emperor. This made their hearts tremble. One had to know that the strongest among them was only a fourth heaven emperor. The dragon patterns on Lin Tian's body intertwined. The divine light was faint as he looked at the four of them calmly. It's my turn to attack. He stepped forward and said calmly, "Don't worry. I will end this battle in an instant." You! Swish! The sound of air breaking echoed. Lin Tian's figure flashed and appeared in front of one of the supreme elders of the yin-yang sect in an instant. Boom! Like thunder, he swung the primal chaos emperor fist. The roar of a dragon and the cry of a phoenix sounded at the same time. Under the pressure of the unparalleled fist, the supreme elder was smashed into pieces. Even his divine soul was destroyed. His body and soul were destroyed. Supreme Elder! A disciple of the yin-yang sect shouted in horror. One of their supreme emperors was killed by a single punch. The yin-yang patriarch trembled. Lin Tian, you! Lin Tian's expression was calm. He used the divination divine technique to create the King Regent's starry moon and King Regent's divine rumble palace. The mighty power of Yin and Thunder gods suppressed the other two supreme elders of the yin-yang sect, directly enveloping them and attacking them mercilessly. No! Screams rang out. Two blood mists exploded. The two supreme elders could not avoid the fate of being killed. Their bodies and souls were destroyed. Such a scene was horrifying. A third heaven emperor realm expert could not resist in front of Lin Tian. However, this was the truth. The most powerful and mysterious reincarnated body was the absolute emperor among those of the same level. Damn it! The yin-yang patriarch was shocked, frightened, and angry. He frantically activated the peak heavenly treasure, yin-yang seal. The mighty Emperor Dao Laws attacked Lin Tian crazily. In an instant, terrifying yin and yang intertwined, destroying everything in their path. Lin Tian's expression was calm. He did not dodge. He stepped forward and grabbed the yin-yang seal with his right hand. The four symbols seal was activated immediately. Four layers were cast consecutively, enveloping the yin-yang seal. In the blink of an eye, they entered the yin-yang seal. The next moment, a scream rang out. The powerful weapon spirit in the yin-yang seal was destroyed by the four symbols seal. The yin-yang patriarch trembled. He could not activate the yin-yang seal now that the weapon spirit was destroyed. Die! A cold word floated out. Lin Tian destroyed the weapon spirit of the yin-yang seal and instantly left his spiritual imprint on it, pushing the yin-yang seal down. The yin-yang patriarch was terrified. He tried to escape, but unfortunately, he could not. He was directly hit by the yin-yang seal. Ah! Chapter 1251. Glaring blood floated in the air. In the blink of an eye, all four emperor-level experts of the yin-yang sect had died. Old ancestor, grand elders! We... The disciples of the yin-yang sect trembled. Just like Lin Tian said, the battle had ended in an instant. In just an instant, all four emperor-level experts of their lineage had been killed. Their bodies and souls were completely destroyed. Lin Tian lowered his head and looked at the remaining disciples of the yin-yang sect. Who was involved in the plot to steal the heavenly venerate ancient scripture from me? His voice was very calm. Facing his gaze, the disciples and deacons of the yin-yang sect couldn't help but tremble. Among them, a few of the boundary emperors' faces turned pale. Some of them even took a few steps back. Lin Tian's gaze shifted as his powerful divine sense swept past the few quasi-emperors of his faction. He forcibly peered into their sea of consciousness and saw many memories. Back then, these people had all participated in the plot to seize the ancient scripture from him. Clang! His sword hummed. He didn't show any mercy. A few towering heaven sword force slashed across and killed these boundary emperors. Blood splattered everywhere. The disciples of this branch were shaken, and their faces turned deathly pale. Lin Tian looked down. The four symbols Dao diagram rose behind him and covered the entire Yin-Yang sect. 1. The four symbols Dao diagram trembled slightly. Silver divine light shone down and covered all the disciples of the Yin-Yang sect who were still alive. After a dozen breaths, the four symbols Dao diagram disappeared. All the disciples of this lineage trembled again. My cultivation? It's gone! Someone cried out in fear. At the same time, the other disciples were also trembling and panicking. Everyone's cultivation had disappeared. Leave, Lin Tian said. He didn't want to kill too many people, but he also didn't want to leave behind any hidden dangers. He directly used the four symbols seal to erase the cultivation of these people, turning these disciples of the sacred Yin-Yang sect into ordinary mortals. They would never be able to step onto the path of cultivation again. Within the sacred Yin-Yang sect, the disciples of this branch were all trembling. In the blink of an eye, they had turned from powerful cultivators to ordinary mortals. Everyone felt a deep sense of despair. When they heard Lin Tian say, "Leave," they couldn't help but tremble even more violently. However, even so, these people didn't dare to linger in the slightest. They were worried that Lin Tian would directly kill them after erasing their cultivation. All of them staggered as they fled. More than an hour later, all the disciples of the sacred Yin-Yang sect who had their cultivation crippled ran out of the sacred Yin-Yang sect. They didn't stop at all and fled into the distance. Lin Tian glanced at the fleeing people, but he didn't pay them any attention. He looked at the majestic palaces of the Yin-Yang sect. Search for the accumulated resources of this faction, dig out the divine vein, origin vein, and immortal vein. Take away all the intact palaces. Don't even leave behind a single hair, Wishing Crocodile said. Yeah! Little Taichu called out and jumped onto Lin Tian's shoulder. Immediately, the group searched through the palaces of the sacred Yin-Yang sect. Before long, they took away all the accumulated resources of this branch. There were many kinds of artifacts, such as the Lingjing, Baodan, immortal herbs, and ancient scriptures. They were all extraordinary. After that, Lin Tian dug out the foundation of this branch. 3 divine veins, dozens of origin veins, and hundreds of immortal veins. He compressed all of them into an inch with the dragon burial scripture and put them away in his stone ring. 1. He opened his own small world and collected all the intact palaces of this branch. He moved all of them into his small world. Alright, let's go. He called out to Wishing Crocodile and Little Taichu. Then, he used the dense sword chi to destroy the sacred Yin-Yang sect's headquarters and left. After leaving the sacred Yin-Yang sect, they passed through several mountains. After that, Lin Tian opened a series of void rifts and displayed the news of the destruction of the sacred Yin-Yang sect to all the major heavens in the 9th heaven. In an instant, the 9th heaven, which was still in an uproar, became even more chaotic. It was as if a large bundle of firewood was added to a raging fire. The sacred Yin-Yang sect was also destroyed? This ruthless person destroyed 2 top forces in one day? Is this heaven-defying? All the cultivators were shocked. The Shrine of Desolation and the sacred Yin-Yang sect were both top forces that had existed for countless years. No one knew how famous they were in the 10th heaven. However, in just one day, they were destroyed by the same person. This person is simply a god. Some people trembled. At the same time, the heavenly demon divine sect, the immortal sword island, and the legendary saber pavilion were even more horrified. Even the sacred Yin-Yang sect, the great figures of the 3 great powers, were even more flustered than before, all of them feeling a wave of coldness. The ordinary disciples of these 3 top forces were even more frightened. Many people were shrouded in panic. Moreover, in addition to these 3 top forces, some old emperors who lived in seclusion also felt fear. After 5 years, that junior actually, the height of an emperor, with his monarch body, he reached the height of an emperor-level reincarnation body. In the ninth heaven, voices sounded one after another from different corners. They were the rogue emperors who went to fight for Lin Tian's reincarnation source. On this day, they naturally saw the spiritual imprints released by Lin Tian and felt a chill in their hearts. The ninth heaven was even more lively. Many people were discussing, and many people were watching. The focus was on Lin Tian. The desolate divine temple and the sacred yin-yang sect, these two top forces, had targeted him in the past. Now that these two forces have been destroyed, will the heavenly demon divine sect and the immortal sword island that also targeted him be, according to the character of that god, I'm afraid he will directly attack the heavenly demon divine sect and the immortal sword island. This is simply a terrible ancestor. Many people trembled. Lin Tian, Wishing Crocodile, and Little Taichu were very far away from the sacred yin-yang sect. At this time, they tore open a void crack and appeared in the northern region. There is another top force here, the heavenly demon divine sect. Hey! Let's go! Wishing Crocodile smiled sinisterly. Yeah! Little Taichu cried out. Lin Tian was very calm. He tore open a void crack again and directly stepped into it with Little Taichu and Wishing Crocodile. In the next moment, a man and two beasts stepped out of the darkness and arrived at a vast group of immortal mountains. Heavenly Demon Divine Sect. Lin Tian narrowed his eyes. In the past, this branch wanted to seize his pure yang flame. Many disciples clamored to kill him several times. Later, the old ancestor of this branch even appeared to compete for his samsara origin. He had always remembered these things very clearly. When he arrived here, he directly stepped into the heavenly demon divine sect without any hesitation. Little Taichu and Wishing Crocodile soared into the sky and arrived at the highest point of the heavenly demon divine sect, guarding this place to prevent any disciples of the heavenly demon divine sect from escaping. Lin Tian entered the heavenly demon divine sect without the slightest concealment. Emperor's pressure surged. The entire heavenly demon divine sect was in chaos. The disciples panicked, and the big shots on the surface palpitated. At the same time, the emperor-level figures of this branch all jumped out. Their faces were unsightly and filled with fear. There's nothing to say. Today, this place will be destroyed, Lin Tian said. Reincarnation Emperor's might surged. He was extremely domineering, directly taking action, enveloping the three supreme elders and the old ancestor of this bloodline at the same time. Towering sword radiance drifted through this great power like raindrops, tearing apart expanses of the void. Boom! 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 The heavenly demon divine sect guessed that Lin Tian was very likely to kill his way here. They prepared many methods, and all kinds of killing power filled the sky. However, the emperor-level samsara body was beyond their imagination. His battle strength was unparalleled, and he was not afraid of any of their killing moves. Ah! Miserable screams soon sounded, and Emperor's blood flew. The three supreme elders of this branch were killed in body and soul by Lin Tian one after another. Then, the golden pure yang flame enveloped the sky, directly burning the old ancestor of this branch to ashes. Even the peak heavenly treasure, heavenly demon all, of this branch was taken by Lin Tian, and the weapon spirit within was erased. Another peak heavenly treasure. Wishing Crocodile clicked his tongue. Those who participated in the plot to steal my pure yang flame are dead. I won't kill the rest, but I will destroy your cultivation. Lin Tian's voice was indifferent and calm. His powerful divine will scan the disciples of this branch and forcefully peeped into their memories. In the next moment, a few bloody mists exploded. The people who gave the order to steal the pure yang flame were all killed. Without exception, their bodies and souls were all destroyed. Then, the four-symbol seal appeared in the sky. The other disciples of the heavenly demon divine sect had their cultivation destroyed and were driven away. Search the foundation of this branch, seize the intact palace, and go to the immortal sword island, Wishing Crocodile said. Lin Tian nodded. He and the two beasts landed and quickly collected all the resources that the heavenly demon divine sect had accumulated over the years, including the divine vein, origin vein, and immortal vein underground. After that, Lin Tian held up his small world and took in the undamaged halls of the heavenly demon divine sect. He then slashed the place into ruins with the heavenly sword radiance. Let's go. He called out to Wishing Crocodile, and little Taichu opened a void crack and stepped in. The next moment, they appeared in the southern region. The Immortal Sword Island was in the southern region. Let's kill them, Wishing Crocodile said. Lin Tian opened a void crack again and directly appeared outside the Immortal Sword Island. He stepped in with his mighty Emperor aura. The reincarnation body is really here? Voices of fear and panic rang out. A few Emperor-level Grand Elders and old ancestors of this branch jumped out together and took out the pinnacle heavenly treasure, the Immortal Sealing Sword. Lin Tian didn't have anything to say. The powerful reincarnation emperors might press forward, and it didn't take long for him to kill the few Grand Elders and old ancestors of this branch. At the same time, he erased the weapon spirit in the Immortal Sealing Sword, seizing this heavenly treasure. One had to admit that his reincarnation body had reached the third stage of the Emperor realm. His battle strength was so strong that he could be said to be invincible below the heavenly venerable realm. Old ancestor, Grand Elders. All the disciples of the Immortal Sword Island trembled in fear. P.S. It's March tomorrow. This month will make up for the New Year's update. The update schedule is roughly like this. March 2nd to 4th, 3 updates a day from 8th to 10th, 3 updates a day from 14th to 16th, and 2 updates a day for the rest of the month. Chapter 1252. The disciples of the Immortal Sword Island trembled in fear. Their supreme elder and old ancestor were all killed. The pinnacle heavenly treasure, the Immortal Sealing Sword, was also taken away. Many of them trembled in fear, unable to utter a single word. Lin Tian scanned these people with his powerful Emperor divine sense. He killed the few boundary emperors who plotted to steal the Celestial Lord ancient scripture from him, as well as the master of this generation. Then, he used the 4 symbols seal to erase the cultivation of the remaining disciples of the Immortal Sword Island, expelling them from the Immortal Sword Island. Find out their foundation. Wishing Crocodile clicked his tongue and flew over from the sky with little Taichu. Lin Tian nodded. The group entered the extraordinary halls of the Immortal Sword Island. Not long after, they collected all the treasures accumulated over the years. There were 3 sects quasi-heavenly treasures, dozens of saint weapons, hundreds of divine weapons, Tao weapons, immortal weapons, and thousands of others. There were close to 600 million jin of Lingjing, Baodan, immortal herbs, and all kinds of strange divine materials. Then, Lin Tian entered the scripture pavilion of the Immortal Sword Island. There were a lot of powerful divine abilities and secret arts, especially the most extraordinary ancient scripture at the top of the scripture pavilion. It was called the Immortal Sword Tao, a sword scripture created by the founding emperor of the Immortal Sword Island. Although it couldn't be compared to the High Heaven Sword scripture, it was still very powerful. He kept all these things. After establishing a sect, the disciples of the sect would have enough ancient scriptures to cultivate. He walked out of the scripture pavilion and looked at the ground. He interweaved countless dragon marks and collected all the divine veins, origin veins, and immortal veins. Among them, there were 4 divine veins, close to 100 origin veins, and more than 700 immortal veins. He compressed all of them into small dragons about an inch long with the dragon burial scripture, and then carefully kept them in the stone ring. The foundation of the Immortal Sword Island is stronger than the other 3 great sections. Among the other great sects, the Lingjing only has 500 million, but this one has 600 million. The divine veins, origin veins, and immortal veins of the sect's foundation are also more than the other 3 great sections. Wishing Crocodile clicked his tongue. Indeed. Lin Tian nodded. As soon as he finished speaking, he soared into the air and propped up the Emperor-rank small world. He began to store the palaces on the Immortal Sword Island. The palaces of this branch were all extraordinary, and there were many of them. Even though he had destroyed some in the previous battle, there were still over 2,000 intact palaces left. He collected all of them and put them into his small world. Clang! Sword cries rang out as he looked down. Dense amounts of sword radiance appeared and slashed towards the immortal Sword Island. In the blink of an eye, the immortal Sword Island was reduced to rubble, leaving behind only a rumbling sound. Let's go! Lin Tian now called out to Wishing Crocodile and Little Taichu and left. They quickly left the immortal Sword Island far away. Immediately after, under the 5 elemental crocodiles' instigation, Lin Tian sent out another mental imprint, one after the other, spreading the news of the destruction of the heavenly demon divine sect and the immortal Sword Island to the 4 regions of the heaven domain. In an instant, the 9th heaven that was already extremely lively became even more lively. Many cultivators were dumbfounded. Heavenly demon divine sect, immortal Sword Island, he really went to these 2 top forces. He actually gave. Including the Desolate Shrine and the Divine Yin-Yang sect, he destroyed 4 ancient inheritances in one day. This is simply ruthless. Including the great extinguishing godly dynasty, he single-handedly destroyed 5 of the 9 top forces in the 10 directions heavens. The pattern of the cultivation world is completely messed up. One by one, the cultivators trembled. The divine power of the reincarnation body was simply too terrifying. The Desolate Shrine, the Divine Yin-Yang sect, the Heavenly Demon Divine sect, and the Immortal Sword Island were all top forces that had existed for countless years, but now, they were all destroyed in one day. It was really terrifying. This was a monstrous wave. In the 9th heaven, the entire cultivation world was not peaceful. Many people were trembling as they discussed the matter of the reincarnation body. Lin Tian and Wishing Crocodile and Little Taichu left the Immortal Sword Island and walked far away. Kid, go to the Ancestral Saber Pavilion. They also chased after us in the past and wanted to kill you. Although I don't know why they didn't continue to target you after your reincarnation body was exposed, the old ancestor of this branch didn't try to seize your origin. However, we still have to make a trip there. It won't destroy them, but we have to extort them, Wishing Crocodile said in a very direct manner. Lin Tian thought for a while and nodded slightly. The Ancestral Saber Pavilion was in the southern region. They did chase after him in the past. Although he wouldn't destroy this branch, he couldn't let it go easily. At the same time, the traitor of the divination branch, Tian Xuanzi, wasn't a good person. He killed his master in the past, and then extended his hands to the divine mathematician and Yan Yi. Between the divine mathematician and Yan Yi, one was a person he respected, and the other was his good friend. Tian Xuanzi tried to seize the ancestral treasure of the divination branch, the divination divine mirror, and almost killed them. He naturally wouldn't let it go. Let's go. He knew where the Ancestral Saber Pavilion was. He directly tore open the void portal and stepped into it with the Little Taichu and Wishing Crocodile. Their vision turned dark, and in the next moment, the darkness dissipated, and a man and 2 beasts stepped out of the void. As far as the eye could see, there was a gigantic divine mountain in front of them. Numerous gigantic palaces were situated there, as if they were the divine pavilions of the immortal world. There was an extraordinary charm intertwining between the palaces, as well as a sharp aura. That's the Ancestral Saber Pavilion, Wishing Crocodile said. Lin Tian nodded, stepped on the void, and walked forward. In the blink of an eye, he arrived outside the Ancestral Saber Pavilion. Without any concealment, he directly walked in. Reincarnation body. In an instant, many disciples of the Ancestral Saber Pavilion saw Lin Tian, and they were all in a panic. After 5 years, he destroyed 4 top inheritances in a single day, causing Lin Tian's fierce name to spread across the entire 9th heaven. Everyone knew about him. At this moment, seeing Lin Tian step into the Ancestral Saber Pavilion, many people in the Ancestral Saber Pavilion knew that their branch had also attacked Lin Tian. Everyone panicked at this moment. Lin Tian stepped into the Ancestral Saber Pavilion, stood in the sky, and didn't say a word. He just looked indifferently at the depths of the Ancestral Saber Pavilion. In the next moment, several powerful auras rushed out, and 4 figures walked over. 3 of them were at the 3rd layer of the Emperor Realm, and one was at the 9th layer of the Emperor realm. Little friend Lin, our ancestral saber pavilion has offended you in the past. Here, we apologize to you. I hope you can forgive us. If you need any compensation, as long as we can take it out, we are willing to give it. The old ancestor of this branch stepped forward. Although he had lived for a long time and his cultivation was at the peak of the 9th layer of the Emperor realm, he was very polite to Lin Tian at this time. It was really too shocking that Lin Tian had destroyed 4 ancient inheritances in a single day. It was really a little terrifying. Moreover, the people behind Lin Tian made him feel even more afraid. While saying this person intentionally or unintentionally glanced at the little Taichu on Lin Tian's shoulder with some fear. Little friend Lin Tian, please forgive us. We were bewitched by other villains to deal with you. Please forgive us. A great elder of this branch also spoke, pushing the blame to Tian Xuanzi, the other villains. That's right. Little friend Lin, we were also bewitched by other villains. Please forgive us. The other 2 great elders spoke as well. Moreover, just like the old ancestor of this branch, these people intentionally or unintentionally glanced at the little Taichu on Lin Tian's shoulder with some fear in their eyes. Tisk! Hearing these people's words, Wishing Crocodile couldn't help but curl his lips. Lin Tian looked at these people and said calmly, "Hand over Tian Xuanzi." Since Master Tian Xuan dared to kill his teacher, his viciousness was evident. Back then, he had even dealt with Master Tian Xuan and Yenyar. His biggest purpose in coming here was to find this person and kill him. The old ancestor of the legendary Saber Pavilion and the 3 great elders were stunned for a moment. They looked at the little Taichu on Lin Tian's shoulder, and the fear in the depths of their eyes deepened. Seeing their hesitation, Lin Tian's face darkened. What? You don't want to hand it over? Seeing his darkened face, the old ancestor and the great elders of the legendary Saber Pavilion quickly shook their heads. The old ancestor of this branch said, "Little friend Lin, you misunderstand. It's not that we don't want to hand it over, but..." As he spoke, he looked at the little Taichu on Lin Tian's shoulder and said, "But Tian Xuanzi died a few years ago." Lin Tian frowned. "Dead? I heard that he was treated as a distinguished guest by the legendary Saber Pavilion. He had been staying in the legendary Saber Pavilion and was very safe. How could he have died? How did he die? Well, it's like this." The old ancestor of the legendary Saber Pavilion looked at the little Taichu and told Lin Tian Xuanzi about how he had divined the little Taichu's tragic death. Moreover, he was worried that Lin Tian would be suspicious, so this 9th Heaven Emperor expert even used the spiritual imprint from back then. In the image, the sky and earth were pitch black, and terrifying bolts of lightning were striking down. That kind of scene was horrifying. Even from the spiritual imprint, one could feel the peerless and terrifying aura. It was so oppressive that it was frightening. This feels like a heavenly tribulation. It's even more terrifying than Little Lin's Emperor Tribulation. Whooshing Crocodile trembled. Even Lin Tian, who had reached the 3rd heaven of the Emperor realm, could not help but be moved. Such a scene was truly terrifying. The spiritual imprint of the legendary Saber Pavilion's old ancestor continued, and the scene in the image became more and more terrifying. Gradually, in the image, the pitch-black sky cracked open, and the true dragon rushed out. The immortal phoenix let out a long cry, the black tortoise shook the 9 seas, and the vermilion bird flapped its wings. For legendary immortal spirits appeared, and divine might rolled down majestically. Then, in the next moment, in the image, in the dark sky, in the middle of the 4 great celestial spirits, a hazy figure appeared. The 4 great celestial spirits surrounded him like guardians. The 3,000 great Tao appeared at this moment, trembling in unison as if they were worshipping this figure. The entire world was shaking because of this figure, and all living things seemed to be worshipping him. "This is..." Lin Tian's expression changed. At the side, Wishing Crocodile was also moved. The man in Crocodile could not help but turn to look at the little Taichu. A true dragon, immortal phoenix, black tortoise, and vermilion bird. the 4 immortal spirits were protecting him. This scene was too similar to the little guy. Chapter 1253. In the spiritual imprint created by the ancestral patriarch of the Saber Pavilion, the hazy figure was slender, and its appearance could not be seen clearly. However, the 4 guardian celestial spirits surrounding it were very familiar, and were exactly the same as the 4 guardian celestial spirits displayed by little Tai Chu. This. Lin Tian frowned. This figure is related to little Tai Chu? Whooshing Crocodile stared. According to the ancestral patriarch of the Saber Pavilion, this scene was caused by Tian Suzi deducing little Tai Chu. Coupled with the 4 guardian celestial spirits surrounding the hazy figure that were exactly the same as little Tai Chu, it could be inferred that the hazy figure was definitely related to little Tai Chu to a certain extent. It was as if they were of the same bloodline. So familiar. Little Tai Chu stared blankly at the hazy figure in the spiritual imprint, its big watery eyes filled with confusion. Dong! A roar came from the spiritual imprint. As the hazy figure appeared, the sky in the image became even darker. Lin Tian and Wishing Crocodile saw Tian Suzi in the image and saw the hazy figure looking down at him. Then, the 4 guardian celestial spirits around the hazy figure roared and pressed down together as if they were about to destroy the world. They directly shrouded Tian Suzi and the big shots of the Saber Pavilion nearby and crushed them to pieces. Even the entire Saber Pavilion was half destroyed. Many magnificent halls collapsed and the disciples of the Saber Pavilion died tragically. The image ended there. The hazy figure disappeared and the world gradually returned to normal. So familiar. Little Tai Chu was a little dazed and muttered. Lin Tian suddenly remembered that a few years ago, when he accompanied Yen Yar to the Celestial Spirit Valley to get the Divine Mirror of Tianji, the entire southern region suddenly became dark and oppressive auras intertwined in every corner. Now it seemed that it was caused by little Tai Chu's deduction. At that time, little Tai Chu looked in the direction of the Saber Pavilion and said, "So familiar." Obviously, little Tai Chu had sensed the aura of the hazy figure that appeared above the Saber Pavilion. 5 Elements Crocodile stared at little Primordial with widened eyes. Just a simple deduction of his cultivation base, and such a horrifying phenomenon was born. Even if an Empyrean-level existence was deduced, it would still be far from such a horrifying scene. It's like going against the heavens and earth. It sucked in a cold breath and said, "That hazy figure is definitely closely related to little Tai Chu. It is very likely to be a mark left in heaven and earth by a blood relative." It stared at little Tai Chu, its eyes full of shock. The origin of little Tai Chu was even more terrifying than it and Lin Tian had imagined. Lin Tian nodded, having the same thoughts as Wishing Crocodile. Back then, because of this matter, Tian Suzi died tragically. The pavilion master of that generation and several quasi-emperors of my sect also met with misfortune, and the Saber Pavilion was half destroyed. The elder of the Saber Pavilion spoke at this time. He glanced at the little Tai Chu on Lin Tian's shoulder, and was very honest. He said to Lin Tian now, "After that, we were afraid and only thought that we could not touch the little beast beside you. If we continued to provoke it, it might lead to an even more terrifying disaster. So after that, we did not provoke you again." Lin Tian glanced at this person and then looked at the little Tai Chu on his shoulder. The little Tai Chu had already recovered, and the confusion in its eyes had dissipated. It was only a little puzzled. When it saw Lin Tian looking over, it blinked and called out to Lin Tian in a childish voice. Lin Tian rubbed little Tai Chu's head, then glanced at the elder of this lineage and the others, and called out to Wishing Crocodile to leave. "Eh? Don't you want to kill them and ask for compensation?" Wishing Crocodile stared. "Forget it." Lin Tian now glanced at the little Tai Chu on his shoulder, then walked out of the Saber Pavilion. His main purpose in coming to the Saber Pavilion was to find Tian Swansea and kill him. Killing the Saber Pavilion was just a matter of convenience. However, now that he knew that Tian Swansea was dead, his main purpose of coming here had been achieved. As for the ruthless extortion of this branch, he had seen some scenes related to little Tai Chu. It could be considered a great harvest, and it was much more meaningful than ruthlessly extorting the legacy of the Saber Pavilion. Therefore, he could not be bothered to deliberately extort a large sum of money from this branch. Wishing Crocodile curled its lips. It could more or less guess what Lin Tian was thinking at this time, and then followed him into the distance. The elder of the Saber Pavilion and the 3 supreme elders were stunned. They were already prepared to be killed by Lin Tian, and even had the resolve to fight Lin Tian to the death. This was because their lineage had indeed targeted Lin Tian several times in the past. However, they did not expect that Lin Tian would leave after making a trip, and nothing happened. Even the disciples of this lineage were stunned. Reincarnated bodies came here, and the matter was over just like that. "Thank you, little friend Lin. Little friend Lin is magnanimous." The elder and the 3 supreme elders of this lineage spoke, and seriously cupped their fists towards Lin Tian's departing figure. Lin Tian and Wishing Crocodile's little Taichu left the Saber Pavilion, and soon walked far away. "Little Taichu, your identity is very heaven-defying." Wishing Crocodile looked at little Taichu and clicked its tongue. "Yeah." Little Taichu blinked its watery eyes, looking charmingly naive, and its childish voice was very cute. Lin Tian glanced at the little guy, thinking of the immortal Saber Pavilion's elder's divine sense imprint. The hazy figure in it was really terrifying. That kind of aura was simply peerless and monstrous. Even the heavens and earth surrendered to that person. "I don't know what's the relationship with this little guy," he muttered to himself. From that divine sense imprint, he knew that the origin of the little guy was far more terrifying than he and Wishing Crocodile had imagined. However, he couldn't figure out the specifics. After a pause, he didn't waste time thinking about this because he couldn't think of anything even if he tried. The most important thing was that no matter what the little guy's origin was, it was now beside him, and it was very healthy. That was enough. He looked at little Taichu. The little guy could obviously feel his gaze, and it called out to him in a childish voice. Lin Tian smiled, shifted his gaze, and looked into the distance. "What are we going to do now?" Wishing Crocodile asked. On the day when the physique was exposed, in addition to the 4 top forces, there were also some old farts who were in seclusion who jumped over. "Now it's their turn." Lin Tian Andao. An old drunkard had killed many of those old emperors who had forced their way over, but there were still many who were alive. Naturally, he couldn't let these people who wanted to steal his life force go. He had to crush them with iron and blood. "Do you know where those people are?" Wishing Crocodile asked. Lin Tian shook his head. "I don't know." As he spoke, he was very calm, and there was some light in his eyes. He looked in a certain direction in the southern region. "However, someone can find all of them one by one. None of them can escape." Wishing Crocodile was puzzled. He followed Lin Tian's gaze, and his expression changed slightly. "That place seems to be in the direction of the Immortal Spirit Valley." As he spoke, his eyes lit up. "Can we ask the Immortal Spirit Body to deduce the whereabouts of those people?" Lin Tian nodded. "That's right." He couldn't forget the appearance of those people who had come to steal his life force origin. He even remembered their auras. As long as he showed the appearance of those people, with the immortal spirit body Yen Yer's Tao of divination, she could easily deduce the whereabouts of those people. "Good idea," Wishing Crocodile said. Immediately, Lin Tian tore open the void portal and led little Taichu and Wishing Crocodile through it. In the next moment, they appeared in a huge valley surrounded by white mist. It was like the Ruoxian realm. It was the Immortal Spirit Valley, where the divination sect was located. It was the ancestral land of the divination sect. He and Wishing Crocodile and little Taichu arrived here. They looked at the sky and directly released their powerful life force. Then, in just a few breaths of time, celestial spiritual runes appeared in the void. A vortex-shaped void door opened, and the surroundings were filled with Tao light. Looking from here, behind the vortex-shaped void portal was a magnificent small world. There were mountains, trees, rivers, sky, and everything else. It was like a small immortal realm. It was the ancestral land of the divination sect, the divination sect. Lin Tian. A quiet and pleasant female voice came out. A young girl and an old man appeared behind the void portal. It was Yenya, the immortal spirit body, and her teacher, the divination master. Yenya had been cultivating in the divination sect for the past few years. When she felt Lin Tian's aura, she immediately opened the divination sect's door. "Little brother, please come in," the divination master said to the outside. Lin Tian nodded and led little Taichu and Wishing Crocodile into the vortex-shaped void portal. In the next moment, the vortex-shaped void portal closed. Lin Tian led little Taichu and Wishing Crocodile into the divination sect and came to Yenya and the divination master's side. "Senior Monsieur, long time no see," he said with a smile. Thinking about it, it had been many years since they parted ways. "Don't be so formal. Didn't we agree that you can just call me Yer?" Yenya rolled her eyes and looked Lin Tian up and down. "I didn't expect you to be a reincarnated body." In the past few years, she had spent most of her time in the Heavenly Secret Dojo, but she would occasionally go out. Naturally, she had heard the cultivators in the outside world discussing Lin Tian. When she found out that Lin Tian was a reincarnated body, she was very surprised at first. However, after such a long time, she had already calmed down. "It's hard to imagine," the divination master also said. Obviously, he also knew about it. "This physique is really troublesome." Lin Tian now. He was not surprised that Yenya and the divination master knew about his physique. After all, after what happened in the past, his physique was no longer a secret. Yenya rolled her eyes and said, "Many people want to have such a physique. They don't know how lucky they are. I was struck by the heavenly tribulation all the way here. I almost died a few times. It's really not a blessing." Lin Tian smiled bitterly. There was a small courtyard in the divination sect. The divination master led the way. They went in and sat down at a small table. After so many years, Lin Tian and Yenya chatted for a long time. Every time they chatted, it would take several hours. "By the way, what's the matter? You didn't take the time to visit me and my master, did you?" Yenya asked Lin Tian with a smile. Lin Tian nodded. He looked at Yenya and said with a smile, "There is something I need your help with." Then, he briefly explained the purpose of his visit. Chapter 1254. Are you going to find trouble with those emperors who tried to snatch your origin? Those people are all emperor rank experts. You. Yenya was a little surprised. "I know." Lin Tian nodded. With that said, he didn't hide it and released a trace of emperor's pressure. The divine mathematician's expression suddenly changed. "This is?" Yenya was also surprised and couldn't help opening her mouth wide. "You have reached the Emperor realm?" She looked at Lin Tian incredulously. On this day, she was in the Tianji dojo and didn't know what happened in the ninth heaven. She didn't know that Lin Tian had reached the Emperor realm. At this time, feeling the Emperor's pressure released by Lin Tian, she was really surprised. Emperor realm. It has only been 5 years since they parted, but Lin Tian has reached the Emperor realm. "This you." She was still very calm on normal days, but at this time, she was really a little surprised. The Emperor realm, this level wasn't so easy to reach. Since she parted ways with Lin Tian, she had cultivated for 5 years, but she only reached the 5th nirvana layer from the 3rd heavenly layer. Moreover, every time she advanced a small step, the difficulty of cultivation would increase by dozens of times. It was very difficult to make further progress. However, Lin Tian reached the Emperor realm from the 6th heavenly layer in 5 years, which surprised her too much. She thought about it again. Lin Tian seemed to have cultivated for only a few decades, but he reached the Emperor realm in just a few decades. This kind of thing had never happened before. Moreover, Lin Tian was a reincarnation body. How terrifying was it to reach the Emperor realm with a reincarnation body? With his current combat power, there were only a few people in the Emperor realm who could be his opponent. "How strong are you now?" She sighed and whispered, "I was worried about you just now." An Emperor Realm reincarnation body, just thinking about it made people's heart palpitate. He is invincible under the Heavenly Master Realm. Don't worry about this kid, Wishing Crocodile said casually. Before coming here, we have already destroyed the ancient temple, the Yinyang Holy Church, the Heavenly Demon Sect, and the Immortal Sword Island. What? Yenya was stunned again. Master God Diviner grew even more agitated. The Primordial Shrine, the Yinyang Sect, the Heavenly Demon God Sect, the Immortal Sword Island, all of them. Master God Diviner stared at Lin Tian in shock. The Primordial Celestial Temple, the Holy Yinyang Sect, the Heavenly Demon Divine Sect, and the Forbidden Sword Island were all top forces that had existed for countless years. They had looked down on the 10 Directions heavenly domain for countless years, but now they were all destroyed by Lin Tian. Yenya looked at Lin Tian. Is this true? Her immortal spirit body, who was known as the beloved child of the great Tao, was in a daze at this moment. It was rather cute. She was truly shocked by Lin Tian. Yes, really? Lin Tian nodded with a smile. There was nothing to hide, especially from Yenya and Master Godly Mathematician. Moreover, this matter has spread like wildfire in the entire 9th heaven. This, hearing Lin Tian admit it personally, Master Godly Mathematician was a little dumbfounded. Yenya opened her small mouth, but she was also a little dazed. After a few breaths, she returned to normal. As expected of an Emperor-level reincarnation body, you are really abnormal, she muttered. After 5 years, he single-handedly destroyed the Primordial Shrine, the Yinyang Sect, the Heavenly Demon Divine Sect, and the Immortal Sword Island. Such a record was simply terrifying. She could imagine that the 9th heaven must be in an uproar now. It's okay, it's okay. Lin Tian smiled. After a few dozen breaths, Yenya finally calmed down. Well, show me the appearance of the people you are looking for, she said. Lin Tian has reached the Emperor Realm, and he even destroyed the Primordial Shrine and the Yinyang Sect. After that, Lin Tian will find trouble with the old emperors. She has nothing to worry about. Lin Tian nodded. With a thought, he displayed the appearance of the people who tried to seize his reincarnation origin. Yenya chuckled. She immediately performed the divine art of heavenly mystery. Strands of light appeared and danced around her. After about 2 hours, she stopped. It's done, she said, and sent a divine sense to Lin Tian, which contained the traces of all the people Lin Tian found. Lin Tian glanced at it slightly, and a faint light intertwined in his eyes. He then looked at Yenya and smiled. Thank you? Don't be so polite. Yenya rolled her eyes. Lin Tian smiled. Okay, I won't say thank you in the future. There are about a dozen emperors who tried to seize his reincarnation origin. Now, all of them have been divined by Yenya. They are in the 9th heaven, 8th heaven, 7th heaven, 6th heaven, 5th heaven, and 4th heaven. Most of them are in some of the more famous forbidden areas in these 6 heavens. He stayed in the Tianji dojo for about an hour before bidding farewell to Yenya and the divine mathematician. Everything is going well. Yenya chuckled and opened the door to the outside world for Lin Tian. Lin Tian nodded with a smile, waved goodbye, and stepped out of the Tianji dojo. In the next moment, he and the little Taichu Wishing Crocodile appeared in the Immortal Spirit Valley, then stepped out of the Immortal Spirit Valley. Boy, who are you looking for trouble with first? Wishing Crocodile asked. The 7 Ultimate Demonic Emperor and the Flowing Cloud Holy Man are both in the 9th heaven. In addition, several other old guys are also there. Lin Tian now. With that said, the corners of his mouth raised slightly, revealing a sneer as he looked at the western region. Wishing Crocodile followed his gaze and looked at the western region. The western region? Who is there? The 7 Ultimate Demonic Emperor. Lin Tian now. The old guy with the bloody skull who is infinitely close to the heavenly venerable realm? Wishing Crocodile naturally remembered this powerful old monster, but then he revealed a sinister smile. Master Crocodile remembers that the old guy's cultivation was weakened by Miss Wu Yi, and he fell to the 2nd heavenly layer of the Emperor realm. I don't know how he has recovered now, Let's go and see. Lin Tian now. Ya! Little Taichu cried out in a childish voice, pointing its little paw directly at the western region, as if expressing the meaning of kill. Lin Tianyi smiled, immediately tore open the void crack, and stepped into it with the little Taichu and wishing crocodile. In the next moment, they stepped out of the void again, far away from the southern region, and appeared in front of a mountain in the western region. As far as the eye could see, Dark Mountain was incredibly tall and covered in strange plants. However, there were strands of Yin fog intertwining within. Usually, no living beings would come near this place, because the Yin fog within Dark Mountain was too cold and terrifying. Dark Shadow Mountain, an evil land in the ninth heaven. Wishing Crocodile narrowed his eyes and stared at the Dark Shadow Mountain. That old man, the 7th ultimate demonic emperor, is here? Yes. Lin Tian now nodded. Yenya calculated the traces of all the emperors who went to seize his origin and were still alive. The 7th ultimate demonic emperor lived in this Dark Shadow Mountain. He stepped on the void, and stepped directly into the Dark Shadow Mountain, squinting his eyes and looking at the depths of the mountain. Come! An ear-piercing sword sound echoed, and a golden sword light appeared beside him, slashing straight into the depths of the Yin Mountain. With a rumbling sound, the void distorted, and the golden sword light cut through the vast sky, falling into a canyon in the depths of the Yin Mountain. With a loud bang, the canyon was torn apart, and the void directly collapsed. Who? A fierce roar sounded from there, and a middle-aged man shrouded in a bloody aura stepped out, his eyes cold and gloomy. It was the 7th ultimate demonic emperor who went to seize Lin Tiandao's samsara origin 5 years ago. We haven't seen each other for 5 years, do you still remember me? Lin Tiandao looked at this person with a smile. The 7th ultimate demonic emperor's expression suddenly changed. On this day, Lin Tiandao made too much noise in the 9th heaven. Although he was in seclusion here, he knew very well that the Temple of Antiquity, the Yin-Yang sect, the Heavenly Demon sect, and the Immortal Sword Island were all destroyed by Lin Tiandao. Seeing Lin Tiandao come here at this time, a chill ran down his spine. Whoosh! At this moment, he didn't hesitate and turned around to leave. At that time, he was infinitely close to the Heavenly Venerable Realm, but his cultivation was weakened by Wu Yi, and he fell from infinitely close to the Heavenly Venerable Realm to the 2nd heaven of the Emperor Realm. In 5 years, he only recovered to the 3rd heaven of the Emperor Realm. Now, facing Lin Tiandao, an Emperor Realm reincarnation body that could destroy the Temple of Antiquity, the Yin-Yang sect, the Heavenly Demon sect, and the Immortal Sword Island, he had no chance of winning, so he directly chose to escape. He knew very well that Lin Tiandao had destroyed several top forces, and it was impossible for him to show any mercy. Want to escape? Do you think you can escape? Lin Tianling smiled. Staring at the escaping 7th ultimate demonic emperor, he took a step forward and blocked in front of him, directly punching down. Boom! The sky trembled, and the void trembled. It was as if a terrifying thunder sounded, and the power of the punch was terrifying. 7th ultimate demonic emperor's expression changed, and he immediately raised a blood-colored skull to meet the punch. The blood-colored skull was a pinnacle heavenly treasure, and at this moment, it emitted a bloody light, and its power was shocking. However, Lin Tiandao's punch was undoubtedly more terrifying. After all, he was an Emperor Realm reincarnation body. Clang! Like the crisp sound of metal colliding, the pinnacle heavenly treasure blood skull trembled and buzzed. Little friend, please stop. I will give this heavenly treasure to you as an apology, 7th ultimate demonic emperor said quickly. In just a short exchange, he could see how terrifying Lin Tiandao was now. He was at the 3rd heaven of the Emperor Realm, and it was terrifying. Reaching the 3rd heaven of the Emperor Realm with a reincarnation body, his fighting strength was terrifying. He felt that even if his cultivation didn't fall and was at his peak, he might not be able to stop Lin Tiandao, so he immediately begged Lin Tiandao for mercy. No need. Lin Tiandao's voice was calm. After killing you, this pinnacle heavenly treasure will still be mine. He wouldn't show mercy to his enemies. He took a step forward and punched down again. Boom! The sky trembled, and the surroundings trembled, sending 7 ultimate demonic emperor flying. Chapter 1255. Blood gushed out of the 7 ultimate demonic emperor's mouth as he gritted his teeth and stared at Lin Tian warily. Then give it a try. Let's see how much you can force me to pay. Lin Tian was very calm. He stepped forward, and without any complicated moves he still pressed forward with an iron fist. With a boom, the void collapsed, and the entire dark shadow mountain shook as if there was a super earthquake. This was the power of the emperor-level reincarnation physique. His physique was invincible, and even a casual punch had great divine power. The 7 ultimate demonic emperor roared as he used his peak heavenly treasure to resist. Bang! Lin Tian's fist could be said to be unparalleled, shattering the bloody light in the sky with one punch and sending the bloody skulls flying. The demonic emperor himself was also forced to retreat in the void. His emperor-level physical body was riddled with cracks as blood flowed out of them. Not enough. Lin Tian's voice was calm. He stepped in the void and closed in on the 7 ultimate demonic emperors step by step. With a thought, the sword light that filled the sky slashed down. For a moment, the sonorous sound of the sword resounded through the void. Dense sword light surged up from all directions, covering the 7 ultimate demonic emperor within, not giving him any space to dodge. Damn it! The 7 ultimate demonic emperor was shocked and angry. He used his emperor-level great technique and even the great path law to resist the sword light. With a sizzling sound, most of the sword light was shattered, but there was still a portion of sword light that was not blocked. Poof! 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 Blood splashed out as the 7 ultimate demonic emperor was penetrated by dozens of sword light. His body was full of transparent bloody holes. You were once infinitely close to the heavenly lord level, but now you're so miserable. Serves you right. This is so satisfying. In the distance, the whooshing crocodile laughed. Yeah. The little Taichu waved its little claws and mocked the 7 ultimate demonic emperor. Lin Tian's expression was the same from beginning to end. He was very calm, so calm that he was indifferent. He walked towards the other party again. A sonorous sound rang out. Beside him, the golden sword light surged as if it could cut through everything. Junior, don't go too far! Don't force me! The 7 ultimate demonic emperor's face was very ugly, and his eyes were somewhat ferocious. Clang! Clanging sounds of swords rang out. Beside Lin Tian, the golden light of the towering heaven's sword slashed out. The sword's momentum was terrifying. So what if I bullied you? So what if I forced you? Bite me? Lin Tian was very calm. Following his words, more and more sword gleams appeared. Every single one of them was extremely sharp. The 7 ultimate evil emperor used the pinnacle heavenly treasure to support the emperor's great divine ability. In the blink of an eye, it was smashed into pieces. His entire body was sent flying again. After smashing through hundreds of large trees, he finally stabilized his body. His entire body was badly mutilated. Junior! He roared furiously. Lin Tian stepped forward and appeared in front of him in an instant. He raised his hand and slapped him. With a paw sound, half of the 7 ultimate evil emperor's face was smashed into pieces. Teeth mixed with blood floated into the air. Ah! The 7 ultimate evil emperor roared. He had lived for more than 200,000 years. He had once suppressed 10 heavenly regions and was infinitely close to the heavenly venerable realm. But now, he was humiliated and slapped by a junior who was only a few decades old. I want you to pay the price! He roared furiously. In the next moment, with a rumble, his eyes were filled with blood vessels. The blood light outside his body surged like a volcano erupting. Crack! 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 Around him, the void shattered inch by inch, and the ground sank inch by inch. In the blink of an eye, the 7 ultimate evil emperor's aura began to skyrocket. His cultivation also began to climb, starting from the 3rd heaven of the emperor realm. In just 7 breaths, he had reached the peak of the 9th heaven of the Emperor realm. In the distance, the 5 elements crocodile was visibly moved. This old club seems to have cast some kind of very terrifying forbidden art, burning his own life source and forcefully recovering to his former cultivation level. Now, he's infinitely close to the level of Empyrean realm. Boom! The Emperor's aura surged. The divine light outside the 7 ultimate evil Emperor's body surged. His Tao power was also boiling. His aura became extremely terrifying. Junior, you forced me to do this. I have returned to my peak. Even if I can't kill you, I will make you pay the heaviest price. The 7 ultimate evil Emperor roared. The blood vessels in his eyes grew even more. He looked at Lin Tian with hatred and ferocity. At this moment, he had used a forbidden technique to return to his peak. Even if he could survive later, his cultivation level would fall from the Emperor realm. Boom! As his words fell, the aura on his body became even more terrifying. It was filled with a chilling aura. He was like a real death god that had walked out from hell. He wanted to use the scythe of death to cut everything and bring thousands of souls to hell. This aura was extremely shocking and terrifying. Facing this terrifying aura, facing the 7 ultimate evil Emperor, Lin Tian was still calm. You think too much. Boom! The golden blood chi was vast and mighty. He didn't hold back at all. At this moment, he released all his Emperor chi. Chi chi chi. Bolts of lightning intertwined and surrounded him. He was like an ancient emperor that walked out from the long river of time and space. He closed in on the 7 ultimate evil emperors step by step. Every step he took caused the void to tremble. This kid, he's only at the 3rd heaven of the Emperor realm, but his aura has already reached such a height. It's even more terrifying than what Lord Crocodile had imagined. As expected of the strongest reincarnation imperial physique. Wishing Crocodile was shocked. The 7 ultimate evil emperor, who had returned to his peak state with the forbidden technique, trembled. He could feel the aura that Lin Tian was emitting at this moment. He couldn't help but retreat. You! At this moment, the aura that Lin Tian was emitting was too terrifying. It was more than 3 times stronger than his peak state. Continue. I'm very merciful and will let you die in battle in your peak state. Lin Tian now. The 7 ultimate evil emperor trembled again. At the same time, he was extremely furious. After he was forced to use the forbidden technique to return to his peak state, Lin Tian directly emitted such a terrifying aura to suppress him. Was this merciful? This was clearly humiliating him. He was so angry that he almost went crazy. At the same time, he activated several Emperor-level nomological laws and urged his pinnacle heavenly treasure to attack Lin Tian. His pinnacle heavenly treasure emitted a bloody glow. The bloody skull let out a ghostly howl as if thousands of ghosts from hell had come to the human world. Lin Tian's expression was calm. He took a step forward. When his foot landed on the void, it made a crisp sound. Dragon light surged out from the soles of his feet and rippled forward like water. Chi! 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 A soft sound came out. The bloody glow that the 7 ultimate evil emperor released with his pinnacle heavenly treasure collapsed. The terrifying ghostly howl was also blocked and annihilated in the void. Immediately, the dragon light did not diminish. It landed directly on the 7 ultimate evil emperor and sent him flying with a bang. Cough! The 7 ultimate evil emperor vomited blood. There were even more cracks on his body. Half of his body was directly smashed open, and blood stained the void. Lin Tian's expression was very calm. He faced the 7 ultimate evil emperor and took another step forward. The dragon light buzzed and spread out again. It landed on the 7 ultimate evil emperor and sent him flying again. Poof! Blood flew. This time, the last half of the 7 ultimate evil emperor's body also exploded, turning into a bloody mist. In the distance, the 5 elements crocodile shrunk its neck. This brat, this battle prowess! It was a little shocked and couldn't help but feel cold. Although his reincarnation physique will attract an absolutely destructive heavenly tribulation every time he crosses a large realm, as long as he withstands it, his battle prowess is simply shocking. Within the same realm, he can really kill gods and devils in his way. Yah! Little Taichu waved its little claws and let out a cry, cheering for Lin Tian. Outside Lin Tian's body, the Emperor light surged. After shattering the 7 ultimate evil Emperor with the dragon light, he did not kill him immediately. Instead, he looked at the bloody skull that fell not far away. This bloody skull was forged from a type of blood jade. It was densely covered with Emperor patterns. The intertwining aura was very terrifying. It was the famous weapon of the 7 ultimate evil Emperor, the Blood Fiend Emperor treasure. He raised his hand and directly grabbed this heavenly treasure. He cast 4 layers of the 4 symbols seal and pressed them into this heavenly treasure. The Blood Fiend Emperor treasure trembled. The weapon spirit inside woke up on its own and began to struggle violently. Unfortunately, it was useless. With Lin Tian's current strength, it was too easy to deal with the weapon spirit inside a heavenly treasure. He easily shattered it and took this pinnacle heavenly treasure. Arg! The 7 ultimate evil Emperor roared. Obviously, he felt that his pinnacle heavenly treasure had been taken away by Lin Tian. He quickly reassembled his Emperor body and stared at Lin Tian in anger and horror. His eyes were full of hatred, and he wanted to swallow Lin Tian alive. Damn it! He roared. His whole body was covered in bloody light. Strands of terrifying Dao light flew and suppressed Lin Tian. Then, in the next moment, he turned around and fled into the distance. He escaped? Whooshing Crocodile stared. It thought that the other party was going to pounce on it before he died. It did not expect that the other party would run away. That speed made it speechless. It was dozens of times faster than lightning. Lin Tian raised his hand and shattered the terrifying killing light that the 7 ultimate evil Emperors sent over with a slap. His expression still did not change. You can't escape. He was very calm. He took a step and chased after him. Little Taichu called out in a childish voice. The 6-colored divine light overflowed and wrapped Whooshing Crocodile around it as it followed behind Lin Tian. At this time, the 7 ultimate evil Emperor had already escaped far away. However, he could not shake off Lin Tian at all. Lin Tian's speed was too fast. He followed closely behind like a shadow. Clang! A golden sword light appeared beside Lin Tian and slashed at the escaping 7 ultimate evil Emperor. With a poof, the 7 ultimate evil Emperor was hit by the sword. One of his arms was cut into pieces on the spot. Damn it! The 7 ultimate evil Emperor was even more shocked and angry. He ran even faster and increased his speed crazily. However, Lin Tian was very calm from beginning to end, steadily following behind him. His heaven-piercing sword she slashed out from time to time, destroying everything in its path. In the blink of an eye, an hour had passed. Lin Tian chased after the 7 ultimate evil Emperor. He had crossed dozens of mountains and left the 7 ultimate evil Emperor with nowhere to go. At the same time, it also alarmed many cultivators in this region. Many people saw this scene and many of them stared with their eyes wide open. That is, the 7 ultimate evil Emperor? The legendary person who is infinitely close to the heavenly venerable realm. He is now running away? Behind him is the reincarnation body? He is chasing after the 7 ultimate evil Emperor. Chapter 1256. The cultivators were dumbfounded as they watched Lin Tian chase after the 7 ultimate demonic Emperor. Many of them could not help but gasp. This is... It's said that the 7 ultimate demonic Emperor went to seize his reincarnation origin 5 years ago. After destroying the 4 top inheritances of the desolate shrine, he's now looking for the 7 ultimate demonic Emperor? He's obviously going to settle the score with the 7 ultimate demonic Emperor from 5 years ago. So domineering! Many cultivators swallowed their saliva. Boom! In the sky, divine energy surged. The 7 ultimate demonic Emperor was covered in blood and cracks. He was in an extremely sorry state. Lin Tian followed behind him unhurriedly, slashing out sword radiances one after another. Poof! Blood splattered. One of the 7 ultimate demonic emperor's thighs was slashed and exploded. Damn it, damn it, damn it! The 7 ultimate demonic emperor's face was ferocious and filled with fear. He had lived for more than 200,000 years, but it was also because of this that he was even more afraid of death. With a rumble, he unleashed an even more powerful Emperor aura and sped up again. At the same time, he unleashed an Emperor-level Tao radiance, which turned into rays of killing light that slashed at Lin Tian behind him, shattering the void. The scene was terrifying. Lin Tian was very calm. Sword radiances circled around him, shattering everything. You can't escape. He still said the same 4 words, very calmly. As soon as he finished speaking, his figure swayed, and the 9th stage of the yin-yang steps flashed, appearing directly beside the 7 ultimate demonic emperor. The 7 ultimate demonic emperor was shocked. You! Smack! Lin Tian raised his hand and slapped the 7 ultimate demonic emperor's cheek, sending him flying a few hundred feet away. With a bang, the 7 ultimate demonic emperor landed far away, smashing a huge crater in the ground. Ah! The 7 ultimate demonic emperor roared. He had been slapped by Lin Tian again. Moreover, there were many cultivators watching at this time. His eyes were bloodshot as he stared at Lin Tian ferociously. After gritting his teeth, he turned around and fled into the distance. He didn't want to die. He wanted to live. However, his speed was much slower than Lin Tian's. Just as he moved, Lin Tian closed in on him. Pa! Another resounding slap. Lin Tian made his move, sending the 7 absolute evil emperor flying again. That 7 ultimate demonic emperor, he actually had no ability to resist at all. This is an emperor rank reincarnated body too possible. Within the emperor rank, how many people are his match? Simply invincible. Many cultivators were shaken. They had seen Lin Tian's divine sense imprint, and knew that Lin Tian had reached the emperor rank. They also knew that Lin Tian had destroyed 4 top inheritances, including the Desolate Shrine and the Yin-Yang sect. They also knew that Lin Tian's combat strength was terrifying. However, they were still shaken when they saw it with their own eyes. Too strong! He was truly invincible. Ah! The 7 absolute evil emperor roared. He steadied himself not far away and became even more furious. Lin Tian slapped him again in front of everyone. This was even more unbearable than stabbing him with a knife. This was humiliation. Lin Tian was humiliating him. Damn it! I want you dead! Die, die, die! He roared. Clearly, he knew that he couldn't escape from Lin Tian's evil clutches. At this moment, he went completely crazy. With a rumble, he pounced towards Lin Tian. The intertwining aura around his body suddenly surged and became extremely chaotic. A destructive wave spread out. This is... He's going to self-destruct. Run! When the crowd of cultivators saw this scene, many of them turned pale with fright. A person who was infinitely close to the heavenly venerable rank had chosen to self-destruct. The destructive power was absolutely terrifying. It was no less than a full-powered attack from a heavenly venerable rank expert. In an instant, swoosh, 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 swoosh. Many cultivators ran frantically towards the distance. Kid, retreat! In the distance, Wishing Crocodile and Little Taichu, who had been following behind Lin Tian, also changed their expressions and shouted. It knew that the 7 absolute evil emperor was extremely terrifying. For such a person to self-destruct, it was no joke. It was extremely terrifying. Boom! The destructive divine power was vast and mighty. The divine power on the 7 absolute evil emperor's body became even more chaotic and terrifying. The surrounding space was collapsing inch by inch. Die! 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 Die together! The 7 absolute evil emperor stared at Lin Tian ferociously. His eyes were filled with hatred. Immediately after, the destructive fluctuations on his body became even more terrifying. Flames curled up and lightning crackled. It was terrifying. This aura, we can't block it. Even an Emperor-level reincarnation body can't block it. Get out of the way! The cultivators who were standing there previously had already run far away. Some were trembling, and some couldn't help but shout for Lin Tian to get out of the way and not fight the 7 absolute evil Emperor head-on. Although Lin Tian was very powerful, he had never done anything outrageous to bully others. Moreover, as cultivators, many felt that Lin Tian's power was very inspiring. Especially when he destroyed evil forces like the Great Extermination God Dynasty and the desolate ancient shrine, it made many people feel very happy. At this moment, some of the cultivators who saw this scene did not want Lin Tian to suffer in this place from the bottom of their hearts. Boom! Terrifying divine power surged and shrouded all directions. The 7 absolute evil Emperor's body was distorted like a balloon that was filled with air. The destructive power was even more intense. It's too late! Die! Let's die together! He roared ferociously. He pounced in front of Lin Tian, and the terrifying destructive power caused every inch of space in the surroundings to be frozen. Lin Tian was still very calm. You think too much. You can die alone, he said. With a buzzing sound, the 4 symbols seal appeared. 4 layers appeared consecutively and blocked in front of him, blocking the 7 absolute evil monarch emperor that was rushing over. The entire 7 absolute evil monarch emperor was enveloped by an incomparably powerful sealing force that was vast and mighty, intertwining in all directions. It's useless! You can't suppress me with just these 4 Tao diagrams! The 7 absolute evil emperor felt the powerful sealing power and roared ferociously. Lin Tian did not say anything, and his expression did not change. With a buzzing sound, the 5th Tao diagram of the 4 symbols appeared and superimposed with the first 4 Tao diagrams of the 4 symbols. Instantly, the sealing power increased by several times, causing the demonic emperor, who was in the midst of self-destruction, to tremble and reveal a look of panic. At the same time, in the distance, Wishing Crocodile was moved. This kid has cultivated this technique to a higher level. Buzz. The 5 layers of the 4 symbols Tao diagram superimposed together, and the destructive power around the 7 absolute evil emperor began to decrease rapidly. The 7 absolute evil emperor trembled, and his face became even more ferocious and resentful. Damn it! Impossible! With the appearance of the 5th layer of the 4 symbols Tao diagram, his self-destruction was forcibly stopped, and a terrifying power entered his body, causing him to disintegrate rapidly like a piece of ice placed on a blazing fire. How is it? I said that you think too much. Lin Tian looked down at the 7 absolute evil emperor with a calm expression. Now, his cultivation was at the 3rd level of the emperor realm. An old drunkard had deduced the 5th and 6th layers of the 4 symbols seal. He had already taken the time to master the 5th layer, and now that he displayed it, he could seal everything. This caused the 7 absolute evil emperor to tremble, and he was both shocked and angry. You disappear! Lin Tian Andao. With a buzz, the 5 layers of the 4 symbols Tao diagram combined and turned into a single divine diagram, and then a silver vortex. No! The 7 absolute evil emperor screamed in horror, and then in the next moment, he was swallowed by the silver vortex and shattered. His body and soul were destroyed. Dead! Dead! A person who was infinitely close to the heavenly venerable realm was just invincible. He's really invincible! In the distance, many cultivators looked at Lin Tian, and many of them couldn't help but swallow their saliva. Lin Tian stood in the void, looking very calm. Kid, your combat power is really incredible. Wishing Crocodile clicked his tongue, and then floated over with little Tai Chu. So many heavenly tribulations, it's not for nothing. Lin Tian Andao. That's true. Wishing Crocodile nodded and then said, Next, where should we go? North region, Void Essence True Immortal. Lin Tian Andao. A Void Essence True Immortal had also gone to snatch his reincarnation origin. As he spoke, he tore the void, stepped in with Wishing Crocodile and Little Taichu, and disappeared. This, he left. I heard the words of the crocodile god beside him just now. It seems that he is going to deal with the other emperors. Some cultivators spoke, giving Wishing Crocodile the title of Crocodile God. Because Wishing Crocodile was Lin Tian's partner, these people didn't dare to slander him in the slightest, so they tried to beautify him as much as possible. He destroyed the 4 top forces, including the Desolate Shrine and the Yin-Yang sect, and slaughtered the 7 ultimate evil emperor who was infinitely close to the heavenly venerable realm for more than 200,000 years. Next, he is going to deal with the other emperors. This is simply going to turn the world upside down. Someone trembled. The 9th heaven, north region, in front of a large lake, the void suddenly split open, and Lin Tian stepped out with Wishing Crocodile and Little Taichu. We're here. Lin Tian Andao. Looking around, the large lake in front of him was very vast. The surface of the lake was rippling under the gentle breeze, looking very ordinary. Lin Tian raised his hand, and a golden sword light slashed across the sky, landing on the bottom of the lake. With a rumble, the lake roared, and huge waves burst out. Who is it? A cold shout sounded, and an emperor's shadow stepped out. It was the void element true immortal from tens of thousands of years ago. Back then, he was at the 8th heaven of the Emperor realm. 5 years ago, Wu Yi reduced his cultivation to the early heaven of the Emperor realm. Now, he had recovered to the 2nd heaven of the Emperor realm. It's me. Lin Tianandao stepped in front of the void element true immortal with a single step. The void element true immortal recognized Lin Tian at a glance, and his expression changed greatly. Reincarnation body, it's you! You! Die. Lin Tian only had one word. His right hand weaved a soul transformation talisman, and he slapped down. With a puff, the void element true immortal was shattered on the spot. Then, the golden soul transformation talisman turned into a ray of light and entered his soul, shattering it. He died on the spot. East Region, Extreme Yin Demon Lord. Lin Tian Andao. Chapter 1257. Among the 4 great domains of the 9th heaven, the eastern domain was the most vast. Its spiritual chi fluctuations were much denser than the other 3. Lin Tian brought Little Taichu and Wishing Crocodile to this heaven and arrived at a canyon that was covered in black light. The demonic chi was very dense, and the air was a little chilly. There are demonic veins here, and there are quite a lot of them, Wishing Crocodile said. The world was composed of spiritual chi. When spiritual chi gathers, it can form spiritual veins, immortal veins, divine veins, and so on. Correspondingly, there was also evil chi in the world. When evil chi gathers, it can form demonic veins that emit demonic chi. If this demonic chi entangled some ordinary cultivators, it would damage their cultivation base and Tao foundation. However, it was different for cultivators who cultivated demonic ancient scriptures. Absorbing this demonic chi would bring great benefits to them. Wishing Crocodile and Lin Tian, the masters of the dragon burial scripture, had stayed here for a long time. They gradually learned some things about the terrain, and they more or less understood the relationship between demonic and demonic veins. They were influenced by what they saw and heard. Lin Tian nodded. He squinted his eyes and looked at the canyon. Without any superfluous words, he directly slashed out with his sword. With a loud clang, the golden sword light slashed into the canyon, shattering the void and directly splitting the vast canyon into pieces. Dust and smoke billowed into the air. Boom! A terrifying demonic aura rushed out from the ruined canyon. A burly figure appeared, his eyes intertwined with cold light. This person was surrounded by demonic light, and his emperor's aura was very dense. He walked out with killing intent. It was Zenithine Overlord, the one who snatched Lin Tian's life source 5 years ago. At that time, he was infinitely close to the Heavenly Master Realm, but now, he was only at the 3rd layer of the Emperor Realm. Because at that time, Wu Yi took action and reduced his cultivation base from the 9th layer to the 2nd layer of the Emperor Realm. After 5 years, he only recovered to the third layer of the Emperor realm. Extreme Overlord was furious when he stepped out of the canyon. Someone actually dared to destroy his home. However, when he saw Lin Tian standing outside the canyon, his expression changed immediately. "It's you!" On this day, the Extreme Overlord who resided in the ninth heaven naturally knew about the annihilation of the ancient shrine and the Yin-Yang sect by Lin Tian. He was shocked when he saw Lin Tian approaching. "You want to kill me?" the man said with a sullen face. "Don't tell me you think I came here just to drink tea with you." Lin Tian's voice was calm. As soon as he finished speaking, he immediately made his move. The densely packed sword radiance slashed towards the Extreme Overlord without holding back. "Reincarnation body, even if you've become a martial monarch, don't be too arrogant. This is my territory. I won't tolerate your impudence," Extreme Overlord said coldly. With a rumble, the ground shook violently. Streaks of terrifying demonic chi rushed out from the ground and sealed every inch of space in the blink of an eye. It shattered all the sword radiance that Lin Tian slashed out. 1. The demonic radiance intertwined and caused the void to buzz. At this moment, streaks of terrifying demonic runes intertwined in this space. Every single one of them was extremely terrifying. This old man carved many demonic runes underground. He used these demonic runes to draw out the power of all the demonic veins underground. Wishing Crocodile said. "More or less," Lin Tian andal. At this moment, the densely packed demonic runes intertwined. Streaks of terrifying demonic chi rushed out from the ground and suppressed every inch of space in the surroundings. It had extremely sharp killing power that could easily destroy a ninth heaven martial monarch expert. As expected of someone who was infinitely close to the heavenly venerable realm. Even though his cultivation was weakened, his means are still very terrifying. He isn't someone that ordinary martial monarchs can deal with, Wishing Crocodile said. Boom! Demonic radiance continued to rush out from the ground. It was extremely terrifying. Subsequently, a broadsword also rushed out from Extreme Overlord's body. Together with the demonic veins and demonic runes, it produced an even more terrifying power. It was very similar to the killing array that the martial monarchs from the Yin-Yang sect set up. In the blink of an eye, this place was shrouded by an extremely sharp aura. The killing aura intertwined in every corner. "Junior, I will give you face. I will also give face to the people behind you. If you leave this place now, I will not pursue the matter of you destroying my place of seclusion," Extreme Overlord said. He looked at Lin Tian. Demonic radiance intertwined in his eyes. There was a trace of greed in his eyes. He still wanted to seize Lin Tian's reincarnation origin. At the same time, there was a trace of coldness in his eyes. Back then, Wu Yi had weakened his cultivation. This debt was directly pinned on Lin Tian. Of course, there was also fear in his eyes. This was because he was indeed wary of the people behind Lin Tian. Lin Tian looked at this person calmly. "Today, I am here to kill you," he said. As he spoke, he took a step forward. Dragon marks intertwined around his body and annihilated the large patch of demonic radiance in front of him. With a single step, he arrived in front of Extreme Overlord. Powerful golden blood chi pierced through the clouds, causing Extreme Overlord to stagger and retreat. "You!" Extreme Overlord's expression changed. The aura that Lin Tian emitted at this moment made his heart palpitate. The 9 heavens slaughtering array that he had set up here, which could slay emperors, was actually useless. More than half of the demonic patterns were destroyed easily. "Damn it!" he cursed silently. At this moment, he didn't hesitate and decisively retreated. His body turned into demonic radiance and escaped. He escaped again. Wishing Crocodile curled his lips. Lin Tian didn't say anything and immediately chased after him. Little Taichu squeaked. 6-colored divine radiance overflowed and brought Wishing Crocodile behind Lin Tian. So! The sound of the air being torn apart was very sharp. Extreme Overlord escaped very quickly. He was much stronger than ordinary emperors. Unfortunately, he couldn't shake off Lin Tian. Lin Tian's speed was even faster than his. He followed behind him calmly. In the blink of an eye, Extreme Overlord had escaped far away. A group of cultivators along the way saw him, and were all dumbfounded. That's Extreme Overlord. He's being chased. The one chasing after him is a reincarnated body. Many cultivators were shocked. Extreme Overlord's expression was very ugly. He felt very embarrassed that so many cultivators saw him being chased. However, even so, he didn't dare to stay any longer. He used his peak heavenly treasure, Extreme Demonic Blade, to block Lin Tian's pursuit. He quickly escaped forward and tore open the void, trying to cross the domain and escape. Enough! 2 indifferent words resounded. Lin Tian increased his speed. He took a step forward and pressed down with his Emperor's great palm, shattering the void crack that Extreme Overlord created. At the same time, he activated the 5 layers of the 4-symbol seal, trapping Extreme Overlord within it. Extreme Overlord trembled. He felt the divine power and divine soul in his body begin to disintegrate. No! Stop! He struggled madly. His eyes were filled with fear. Lin Tian's face didn't show any emotion. He naturally wouldn't show mercy to someone who tried to snatch his origin energy. Buzz! The 5 layers of the 4-symbol seal combined into a huge silver vortex, crushing Extreme Overlord completely. His body and soul were destroyed. He's dead. That Extreme Overlord was just so strong. The cultivators who witnessed this scene felt their hearts palpitate. They looked at Lin Tian with reverence. Someone as strong as Extreme Overlord was killed so easily. It was shocking. So this is the legendary strongest physique. This level of combat power is simply... Many people swallowed their saliva. Lin Tian left Extreme Overlord's pinnacle heavenly treasure in the void ahead. He waved his hand and summoned it. The 4-symbol seal was activated again. In the blink of an eye, the weapon's soul in it was erased. He then kept it in his sea of consciousness. Where are we going now? Wishing Crocodile asked. Lin Tian narrowed his eyes. There are still a few old guys in the East region. I'll find them one by one. As he spoke, he stepped on the void and left, heading towards the northwest of this place. He's gone. Reincarnation body, how terrifying! Many people watched Lin Tian leave and couldn't help but shudder. Lin Tian stepped on the void and soon arrived at a desolate mountain in the northwest of the East region. He directly stepped into it. Soon, a powerful divine power was emitted from it. It shattered the heavens and the earth. A middle-aged emperor's shadow fled into the distance. Lin Tian raised his hand and slashed out with the Lin Tian Absolute Kill Sword, directly shattering the middle-aged emperor's shadow. Even the divine soul inside was destroyed, disappearing without a trace. There are still 8 old guys in the East region. Lin Tian Andal. According to Yanya's calculation, the 9th layer occupied most of the traces of the rogue emperors. There were more than 10 of them. He wouldn't show any mercy to these enemies who tried to seize his reincarnation origin. He would kill them one by one. He left this place and brought Wishing Crocodile and Little Taichu to other places in the East region. Soon after, the entire East region was in an uproar. Half-Moon Monarch from 60,000 years ago was killed. Immortal Qilin Old Ancestor was killed. Primordial Great Emperor from 70,000 years ago was also killed. Lu Fan Do Di was also Half-Moon Spiritual Master from 80,000 years ago, who was at the peak of the 8th heavenly layer, was also killed. On this day, the entire 9th heaven was in an uproar. Ancient emperors were killed one after another, causing many people to be terrified. That reincarnation body is simply. Many cultivators couldn't help but tremble. In just one day, the desolate shrine, Yin-Yang sect, Heavenly Demon Divine sect, and Immortal Sword Island were destroyed. The 7 ultimate evil emperor and other ancient powerhouses were killed. In total, more than 20 emperors had fallen in the 9th heaven. Is this the day of Emperor Fall? Some people were terrified. In the ninth heaven, in the east region, in a desolate mountain. Boom! Divine light surged, Emperor Chi intertwined, and Sword Chi crisscrossed. Junior, you've gone too far! The roar resounded throughout the desolate mountain. Golden sword lights flashed, and an emperor's shadow was dodging. His body was covered in blood, looking very miserable. Chapter 1258. Lin Tian looked at battled Archduan Yang with a calm expression. Sword auras circled around his body as he slowly approached his opponent. Clang! The golden sword auras clanged and slashed down mercilessly. Battled Archduan Yang was forced into a corner. He resisted with all his might, but it was too late. His body was smashed into pieces. Ah! He roared. His divine soul rushed out, wrapped around the pieces of flesh, and quickly fled into the distance. In a flash, he was thousands of feet away. Lin Tian followed behind him unhurriedly. In the blink of an eye, he was tens of thousands of feet away. That's enough. Die. His voice was calm. He made his move, unleashing the four symbols seal. Silver Tao diagrams covered the entire sky, pressing down mightily. In an instant, a powerful sealing force surged. The 5 silver diagrams overlapped and enveloped battled Archduan Yang. No! Stop! Have mercy! Battled Archduan Yang was terrified. He felt his flesh and divine soul being disintegrated by a terrifying force. He was horrified. Lin Tian's expression was calm. How could he show mercy? The 4 symbols seal trembled violently as the 5 silver Tao diagrams of the 4 symbols combined to form a gigantic silver vortex. Battle God Duan Yang was sucked into the vortex and was instantly annihilated without even spilling a single drop of blood. Those old things in the ninth heaven who tried to steal your source energy are all dead, right? Whooshing Crocodile asked. Lin Tian nodded. Yes. Let's go to the 8th heaven. As he spoke, he tore open the heavenly barrier and prepared to step into it. However, in the next moment, his expression suddenly changed. A hint of surprise appeared on his face as he looked at a spot more than 1,000 feet away. As far as the eye could see, there was a pit that covered an area of about 50 to 60 feet. The soil around it was very ordinary. Some ordinary grass grew beside it. At the same time, there were a few large gray stones scattered around. This is? He stared at the pit and couldn't feel anything. However, he couldn't help but feel a chill run down his spine. However, it only lasted for an instant, and the feeling that made his hair stand on end inexplicably disappeared. Kid, what's wrong? Whooshing Crocodile saw his strange expression and couldn't help but ask. At the same time, he followed his gaze and looked at the pit. What's wrong with the pit? Is there anything unusual? It seems very ordinary. Its current cultivation wasn't bad either. It was in the Nirvana realm, and it felt that the pit in the distance was very ordinary. Little Taichu looked at it curiously and tilted its head. Obviously, it didn't notice anything out of the ordinary. Let's go and take a look. Be careful. Lin Tian now. At this time, looking at the pit in the distance, the creepy feeling was no longer there. However, the creepy feeling at the beginning was very real. He felt that there was something strange there. Soon, he, Whooshing Crocodile, and Little Taichu arrived above the pit. When they looked down, the pit was pitch black and they couldn't see the bottom. It was like a deep hole that led underground. Apart from the deep feeling, the rest is very ordinary, Whooshing Crocodile said. Coming here at such a close distance, it used its tyrannical divine sense to scan the place while observing. Everything was normal. Lin Tian frowned. After coming here, he also used his divine sense to scan the deep pit, but he didn't find anything unusual. However, he still couldn't get rid of the creepy feeling from before. Something's not right, he said. He didn't believe that his first feeling was wrong. There was definitely something strange here. After a pause, he waved his hand and grabbed a big stone and threw it into the deep pit. The big stone was gray and disappeared into the deep pit in the blink of an eye. There was no movement, and it fell to the bottom. Look, there's nothing unusual, Wishing Crocodile said. Lin Tian frowned. Let's try again. A flock of purple birds flew by in the distance. He paused, grabbed one of them, and threw it into the deep pit. The purple bird was thrown into the deep pit. It was obviously shocked and quickly flapped its wings to fly out. Everything is normal. There's nothing strange, Wishing Crocodile said. Lin Tian stared at the scene. Was I really wrong? Was it an illusion? He stared down, frowned slightly, and shook his head. However, in the next moment, the feeling of goosebumps appeared again. It came from the bottom of the deep pit, and it was much more intense than before. This feeling was even more terrifying than when he faced the Netherworld race's heavenly venerable rank powerhouse. It was as if the Grim Reaper's scythe was slashing at him, wanting to cut his heart. Retreat! His whole body was cold. The golden divine light was vast and mighty, enveloping Wishing Crocodile and Little Tai Chu. He quickly moved horizontally into the distance. Wishing Crocodile had a strange expression. Kid, what are you doing all of a sudden? Boom! A terrifying aura suddenly rushed up, directly interrupting Wishing Crocodile's words. Looking at the deep pit, the purple bird had already flown to the edge of the deep pit. However, at this moment, a rolling black light suddenly rushed out from the seemingly ordinary deep pit. It was like the light of death that really came from hell. In the blink of an eye, it swallowed the purple bird. Moreover, that terrifying aura rushed straight to the heavens, shattering the endless clouds and annihilating everything. Black holes the size of stone millstones appeared in the sky, swallowing the nearby air and light. With a rumble, a hurricane swept out, shaking Lin Tian, Little Tai Chu, and Wishing Crocodile into the air. Wishing Crocodile's eyes widened. The scales on his body stood up, and cold sweat flowed down. This. It was shocked by this scene. The black light rushing out from the deep pit was too terrifying. It felt that even if a heavenly venerable realm expert came into contact with it, they would not be able to resist and would be swallowed in the blink of an eye. If Lin Tian had not been vigilant in advance and brought it and Little Tai Chu away, they would probably have died there. Even the powerful Little Tai Chu widened its eyes, and its snow-white fur could not help but stand up. Lin Tian's heart naturally trembled, and his hands and feet trembled. That black light just now was too terrifying. It was more than 10,000 times more terrifying than the Emperor Tribulation he experienced in the sealed dust ancient region. This, as powerful as he was, at this moment, he felt his heart palpitate to the extreme. His heart beat faster and faster. In front of him, above the deep pit, a black hole appeared horizontally, absorbing air and light, causing this place to suddenly become dark. However, the black light rushing out of the deep pit was difficult to absorb. It was like a sea of clouds rolling in the sea. Then, in just a few seconds, the black light reversed back into the deep pit, disappearing in the blink of an eye. The black hole that appeared in the sky also disappeared as if it had never appeared. As for that purple bird, it directly disappeared without a trace. Its life aura completely disappeared, and not a single trace of it could be felt. That purple bird was swallowed by the deep pit. Wishing Crocodile swallowed his saliva. It's dead, Lin Tian now. Although Wishing Crocodile knew this, he still couldn't help but tremble. He stared at the bottomless pit in the distance. What the hell is this pit? This is simply a heavenly pit. Even an heavenly venerable powerhouse would definitely die if they got close to it. There is such a dangerous place in the ninth heaven, but there is no record of this pit in the ancient books. With that said, it looked at Lin Tian again and said, Moreover, when you threw the stone down before, wasn't there nothing at all? Why did something like that happen after he threw out the purple bird? Is there a time limit to the activation of the pit? Lin Tian looked there, thought for a while, and said, Maybe it only responds to creatures with life aura. With that said, he grabbed stones, iron, and other things without life aura and threw them into the deep pit. Everything was very normal. Afterward, he looked into the distance, grabbed a goshawk, and threw it into the deep pit from a distance. In the blink of an eye, the goshawk was thrown into the deep pit. Boom! Just like when the purple bird was thrown in, with a loud bang, black light rushed out from the deep pit, directly annihilating everything. The sky darkened, and the black hole swallowed everything. Vaguely, the sound of a beast grinding its teeth could be heard from the bottom of the pit. Sure enough, it only reacts to creatures with life aura. Wishing Crocodile swallowed its saliva and stared at the deep pit, its eyes full of fear. This pit is simply. At this time, the only adjective it could think of to describe this pit was peerlessly terrifying. Buzz! There, the void fluctuated, the black hole disappeared, and the terrifying black light that rushed out from the deep pit also dissipated. That place was restored to its original state. Looking at it, it was still just an extremely ordinary pit. As for the goshawk that Lin Tian threw in, it naturally disappeared without a trace. Lin Tian sucked in a breath of cold air. At this time, he was completely sure that the deep pit only reacts to creatures with life aura. Once one gets close to the deep pit, it will summon the terrifying black light that can destroy and devour everything. However, it was difficult for him to understand what kind of power it is. No matter how he looked at it, he couldn't understand it. He tried to sense the terrain here with the dragon patterns interwoven by the dragon burial scripture. After a while, he found that the earth veins in this place were very normal. This made him even more puzzled. What the hell is down there? He frowned. He couldn't detect what was at the bottom of the deep pit with his divine sense and dragon patterns, but he believed that there is definitely something terrifying in this deep pit. At least, the black light that can annihilate everything rushed out from the bottom of the deep pit. He summoned the dragon patterns again and searched more carefully, but unfortunately, he still couldn't find anything. The result of the dragon patterns was that this place was very normal. He stared at the deep pit with doubts in his eyes. He stood there for a long time, but in the end, he could only shake his head. He couldn't understand this place at all. In the end, he stopped exploring because after trying several times, it was clear that he couldn't understand this place. Although I don't know what's going on in this place, it may be useful in the future, he muttered to himself. He stood there for a long time, took a deep look at the deep pit, and called the wishing crocodile and the little Taichu to leave. Let's go to the 8th heaven, he said. Chapter 1259. Some of the emperors in the 9th heaven who tried to snatch the reincarnation origin have been killed. Lin Tian tore open the heavenly barrier at this time. After taking one last look at the terrifying heavenly pit in the distance, he stepped into it with wishing crocodile and little Taichu, disappearing from the 9th heaven in the next moment. Darkness obscured their vision. It didn't take long for a human and 2 beasts to cross the void. Whoosh! A phoenix was blowing in the air. This is an old forest. Old leaves were rolled up, rustling in the wind. The 8th heaven. Wishing crocodile narrowed its eyes. Yeah. Little Taichu called out in a childish voice, looking around. This was the first time it saw the 8th heaven. Lin Tian had a faint smile on his face as he narrowed his eyes and looked at this heaven. In the next moment, he stepped forward, tore open the void door, and appeared outside a flame valley full of flames. Looking around, the flames in the valley were very extraordinary. There were fluctuations of the great Tao intertwining in them, as if they would never be extinguished. Ordinary early-stage emperors would find it difficult to bear. The old guys who tried to snatch your reincarnation origin, who is here? Wishing Crocodile asked. Ryugen Daojun. Lin Tian now. Saying so, with a single thought, his pure yang flames intertwined and turned into a golden flame dragon that pounced into the valley. With a loud bang, the entire flame valley shook violently. Most of the flames inside were directly burned out by the golden flame. Who is it? A low voice sounded, bringing with it a cold chill. A tall figure stepped out of the valley, surrounded by dazzling lights. It was none other than Ryugen Daojun. Lin Tian didn't say anything. Instead, dense sword lights intertwined, directly sealing the surrounding area. "It's you!" Ryugen Daojun stared at Lin Tian. He didn't know what happened in the ninth heaven, but there was greed in his eyes. The original reincarnation body actually appeared in front of him. "This is a huge treasure." Staring at Lin Tian, he was only thinking about the reincarnation origin in Lin Tian's body. He even forgot that his cultivation was weakened because of Lin Tian. He even forgot that there was a terrifying existence behind Lin Tian, Wu Yi. "What a hateful look!" Lin Tian now. With a loud clang, the densely packed heaven-piercing sword she slashed across at an extremely fast speed. Puff! 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 Blood splattered everywhere as the powerful Tao Lord flowing cloud was directly smashed into pieces. Even the flame-covered valley behind him was torn apart at this moment, completely destroyed by the tyrannical towering sword light. "Ah!" Ryugen Daojun roared, but he didn't die immediately. In the blink of an eye, he reconstructed his body and stared at Lin Tian in shock and anger. He was shocked that Lin Tian could hurt him. He was angry because he, who had lived for more than 200,000 years, was injured by a junior who was only a few decades old. This was unbearable. "How dare you hurt this lord?" He stared at Lin Tian with a cold face. With a whoosh, the sound of the air being torn apart rang out. Lin Tian appeared beside him and raised his hand to slap him. "Pa!" A loud slap sounded. Ryugen Daojun was sent flying, and his teeth mixed with blood rolled in the void. "You didn't locate your position properly." Lin Tian was very calm. As his words fell, a faint emperor's pressure spread out from his body, causing the void around him to distort. Ryugen Daojun stabilized himself in the distance. At this moment, he felt Lin Tian's emperor's pressure and couldn't help but tremble. You've reached the Emperor Realm? And you're at the third heaven of the Emperor Realm?" An expression of disbelief appeared on his face. "How is this possible? 5 years ago, you were only at the sixth heaven of the Nirvana Realm. In just 5 years, how could you reach such a height? This is impossible." He looked at Lin Tian, his eyes flickering violently. In 5 years, he went from the sixth heaven of the Nirvana Realm to the third heaven of the Emperor Realm. This cultivation speed was too fast and shocking. Lin Tian was very calm. In the next moment, a swish sounded, and he appeared in front of Ryugen Daojun in an instant. Ryugen Daojun was shocked by this speed. He couldn't see Lin Tian's movements at all. "You bang!" Lin Tian lifted his leg and landed a whip kick on Ryugen Daojun's cheek, sending him flying. Blood floated in the air. Ryugen Daojun was sent flying for tens of thousands of feet before he could stabilize his emperor body. His face was badly mutilated. "Junior! How dare you!" He glared at Lin Tian angrily. Lin Tian actually kicked him in the cheek. This was a naked humiliation. Boom! Divine light rushed out of his body. His emperor power surged, and his Tao radiance was terrifying. However, in the next moment, Lin Tian appeared in front of him again as if he had teleported. It was unpredictable. "You bang!" Lin Tian lifted his leg and landed another whip kick on Ryugen Daojun's face, sending him flying for tens of thousands of feet again. "I told you, you didn't know your position." His voice was calm. Ryugen Daojun steadied himself in the distance. Hearing Lin Tian's words, he recovered from his shock and anger. He couldn't help but feel a chill down his spine. Now, the person standing in front of him was a reincarnated body of a third heaven emperor. "You!" He couldn't help but retreat. Thinking about it, after his cultivation was weakened by Wu Yi, he had only recovered to the third heaven emperor realm. However, Lin Tian had entered the emperor realm and was also at the third heaven emperor realm. In terms of cultivation, Lin Tian wasn't any weaker than him. In addition, Lin Tian was the strongest reincarnated body. Therefore, how could he be a match for Lin Tian now? Lin Tian saw the change in this person's expression and said, "It seems like you have understood what kind of position you are in now." He looked at this person and walked towards him. What do you want to do?" Ryugen Daojun trembled. At this moment, When he thought about how Lin Tian was a reincarnated body of a third heaven emperor realm, he felt a chill down his spine. How terrifying would a reincarnated body of a third heaven emperor realm be? Make a guess? Lin Tian Andao. He walked towards Ryugen Daojun. His voice was very calm, but it caused Ryugen Daojun to tremble. You want to kill me? In Lin Tian's eyes, Ryugen Daojun sensed the killing intent. It was an unconcealed killing intent. Lin Tian didn't say anything else. As he walked towards Ryugen Daojun, another sword light appeared beside him. Moreover, the sword light at this moment was very terrifying. It contained destructive emperor chi. Clang! 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 An ear-piercing sword sound reverberated. Lin Tian's sword light intertwined and slashed towards Ryugen Daojun. Ryugen Daojun trembled and immediately used his Emperor Realm's superpower to resist. However, Lin Tian's sword light was too powerful. It tore through Ryugen Daojun's superpower and penetrated it. In the next moment, Lin Tian stepped in front of Ryugen Daojun again and pressed his hand down. Buzz! The void shook violently and cracked inch by inch under his huge hand. Ryugen Daojun was horrified. He felt the threat of death. With a loud shout, he held up a resplendent treasure lamp. This treasure lamp was made of mysterious bronze. It was covered with Emperor Realm inscriptions. It was a pinnacle heavenly treasure. Ryugen Daojun held up this treasure lamp and released an extremely powerful Emperor Realm aura to meet Lin Tian's huge hand. Clang! With a metallic clang, Lin Tian's huge hand pressed down and directly slapped the treasure lamp away. You die! Lin Tian's voice was calm. He stepped in front of Ryugen Daojun and swung the Chaos Emperor fist. With a bang, the sky collapsed. Vaguely, a dragon's roar and a phoenix's cry sounded and directly drowned Ryugen Daojun. Ah! With a scream, Ryugen Daojun's body exploded and his body and soul were destroyed on the spot. TSK, TSK. No wonder he has the strongest constitution. Killing cultivators of the same level is just a piece of cake, Wishing Crocodile said. Yeah. Little Taichu's big eyes curved and it called out in a childish voice. Lin Tian waved his hand and called back Ryugen Daojun's bronze lamp. He directly used the four symbols seal to erase the soldier soul in the lamp and then put it into his sea of consciousness. Next place. He called out to Wishing Crocodile, and little Taichu left this place and walked towards other places in the eighth heaven. After that, it didn't take long for him to appear in different places in this heaven one after another. He found the old emperors who tried to seize his reincarnation essence one after another, and directly killed them all. It wasn't until an hour later that he stopped. In an hour, he killed 7 emperors in this heaven. These 7 people all tried to seize his reincarnation essence. The 7th heaven. This day was destined to be an extraordinary and terrifying day. It was the day of the true emperor's fall. He mercilessly attacked, traversing the 7th heaven and the 6th heaven. Between these 2 heavens, he had slain 11 ancient powerhouses. These people all tried to seize his reincarnation essence 5 years ago. Now that he has become an Empyrean, he naturally won't let them go. Needless to say, there were quite a number of them who had their cultivation directly reduced below the Emperor Realm by Wui. After 5 years, they didn't recover much. When Lin Tian killed his way over, there were quite a number of them who were in the Nirvana Realm. Buzz! In the 6th heaven, Lin Tian tore open a crack in the void and appeared in the 5th heaven in the next moment. The 5th heaven is a chaotic heaven in the 10th heaven. In this heaven, fighting and killing are everywhere. Lin Tian appeared in this heaven, stood in the void, and glanced at this world. In the past, he fought for a long time in this heaven. Let's go. He narrowed his eyes and stared at a certain place. He tore open the void and stepped into it with Wishing Crocodile and little Tai Chu. The next moment, they appeared in front of a huge abyss. This abyss is located between red mountains. It's a bit exaggerated, and no one knows how far it extends. It's a very ancient danger zone in the 5th heaven, the Nirvana Abyss. Are the old emperors who tried to seize your reincarnation essence here? Wishing Crocodile was a little surprised. Yes. Lin Tian nodded. This was the result of Yen Yer's deduction. Boom! Suddenly, a tyrannical fluctuation rushed out from the nirvana abyss. Somewhere at the bottom of this abyss, there was a faint empyrean pressure surging, and golden divine light intertwined. Chapter 1260. The nirvana abyss was very vast. At this time, there were golden divine lights intertwined in the depths of the abyss, and the aura of the Sun Heart Sutra permeated the air, causing Wishing Crocodile to be surprised. Lin Tian was also moved. Lin Tian looked at the depths of the abyss, and a faint dragon light intertwined in his eyes. He vaguely saw a young man fighting in the depths. That is... A light flashed in his eyes, and the corners of his mouth couldn't help but evoke a smile. Wishing Crocodile looked at his expression and felt a little strange. Boy, what are you laughing at? Little Taichu tilted his head and looked at Lin Tian with a curious look. Let's go, we'll know when we go down. Lin Tian. The Nirvana Abyss is a very dangerous place in the fifth heaven. It's filled with gray mist, which is the evolution of the Tao law of desolation. Ordinary Nirvana realm powerhouses can't resist it. Once infected, they may die. The gray mist only disappears at a certain time every year, but now it's obviously not that time. The inside is full of gray mist, and it's very dense, containing a corrosive aura. Lin Tian stepped into the abyss with little Taichu and Wishing Crocodile. His cultivation is tyrannical. Just by walking normally, the gray mist dispersed on its own, unable to get close to him at all. It was all driven away by the natural empyrean aura around his body. He walked in it, and after taking a few steps, he reached the deepest part of the abyss. Boom! Looking ahead, divine energy surged, golden divine light surged, and black evil aura intertwined. The two were colliding violently. A young man and a middle-aged man in a Taoist robe were fighting. The young man was dressed in black, and his body was surrounded by golden divine light. Golden sword lights surrounded his body, emitting a clanging sound. His momentum was very astonishing, like a young sword god. However, the middle-aged man in the Taoist robe was obviously stronger. Faint empyrean aura intertwined around his body, and his eyes were very cold. Junior, give up! You are not this old man's opponent! Your body, your divine eyes, this old man wants them! The middle-aged man in the Taoist robe said with greed in his eyes. The youth's body was tall and slender, and his cheeks were still a little tender. His eyes were very bright, and they emitted the divine light of the sun. That's Yi Tong! In the distance, Wishing Crocodile was moved. He and Lin Tian came to the depths of the forest, and saw this scene from afar. They were shocked. The golden divine light around the young man was undoubtedly the Sun Heart Sutra. The golden sword light was obviously the Ling Tian Sword Sutra. These two divine techniques were passed down by Lin Tian. Most importantly, the young man's eyes were intertwined with the divine light of the sun. It was the legendary divine eyes of the sun. With all these intertwined, it immediately recognized who the young man was. Lin Tian had a faint smile on his face. He was in the Emperor domain. When he was still above the abyss, he saw the battle scene here. He saw the black-clothed youth and recognized that the youth was Yi Tong. Time really flies, he muttered to himself. Back then, Liu Yi Tong, his number one disciple, had already grown into a young man with a grand aura. He was at the first level of Nirvana realm. Boom! In front, Yi Tong and the Taoist-robed middle-aged man were fighting. The golden Ling Tian sword light slashed through the void with a terrifying sword aura. At the same time, his eyes shone with sunlight, causing the space around the middle-aged man in Taoist robes to distort. Then, without a sound, purple flames appeared. With an aura that could destroy everything, it burned down the space. Chi! 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 This purple flame was very shocking. It burned some of the spells cast by the Taoist-robed middle-aged man. It did not slow down and continued to sweep towards the Taoist-robed middle-aged man, wanting to burn him to ashes. Good, good, good! As expected of the legendary divine eyes. The divine eyes contain a shocking divine ability. This divine flame is very good. The greed in the Taoist-robed middle-aged man's eyes became stronger. With a rumbling sound, he stared at Yi Tong. The Emperor's might outside his body became stronger, and powerful Tao principles surged out. In an instant, the purple flame was annihilated. Yi Tong was sent flying, blood flowing out of his mouth. Stay still and suppress. The Taoist-robed middle-aged man pressed forward and opened his hand, grabbing towards Yi Tong. The Emperor's might surged. This person's cultivation was currently at the half-step Emperor realm, but he was much stronger than normal half-step Emperors. His eyes were very deep and experienced. This kind of depth was clearly not something a half-step Emperor realm cultivator could possess. Yi Tong attacked with all her strength. The Ling Tian sword light swept out, and the sunlight in her eyes became stronger. She moved with a mysterious footwork. Her sun divine eyes could see through many spells. At this moment, she was fighting with the Taoist-robed middle-aged man. Kid, are you just going to watch? Fighting against a half-step Emperor with a first-stage Nirvana realm cultivation. Even if little Yi Tong has the legendary sun divine eyes, he is clearly not that old man's opponent. Moreover, that old man fell from the Emperor realm. His strength is far stronger than normal half-step Emperors. He might not be invincible under the Emperor realm, but he is close. In the distance, the wishing crocodile frowned and looked at Lin Tian. It still remembered that this Taoist-robed middle-aged man was known as Taoist God Withered. 5 years ago, he went to steal Lin Tian's reincarnation source. Back then, he was at the 3rd stage Emperor realm. His cultivation was directly reduced to the 6th stage Nirvana realm by Wu Yi. 5 years later, he recovered to the half-step Emperor realm. His strength was not something a normal half-step Emperor realm cultivator could compare to. The reason it and Lin Tian came here was to kill this person. Lin Tian's eyes glowed faintly as he said, "No rush. Let's watch first." Seeing Yi Tong and Taoist God Withered fight, he didn't know the reason, but he could see that the current Yi Tong was definitely not Taoist God Withered's opponent. However, even so, he wasn't in a rush to make a move. After more than 10 years, the little fellow from back then had grown up. Her cultivation had reached the 1st stage Nirvana realm. She was truly extraordinary. At this time, he wanted to see what the limits of his only disciple were. He wanted to see how far she could go against Taoist God Withered. He and the wishing crocodile little Taichu were in the depths at this time, but they were very far from the battlefield. Moreover, they intentionally concealed their auras so that no one could discover them. Boom! As far as the eye could see, divine light surged in front of them. Yi Tong and Taoist God Withered were fighting. Towering sword radiance slashed through all directions. Taoist God Withered coldly snorted. His large hand pressed down. Tao radiance trembled, shattering the sharp sword radiance one after another. Junior, obediently give up struggling. You can't escape from the palm of this seat's hand, Taoist God Withered said. With a rumble, waves of black divine light rushed out from his body. It was very shocking, as if it could devour everything. Moreover, there was even demonic power intertwining within. It was very unusual. This old thing, there's actually demonic power mixed within his divine power? Wishing Crocodile was surprised. Even Lin Tian revealed a strange look. Then, in the next moment, his expression changed again. This demonic power! A strange light flashed in his eyes. He suddenly recognized this demonic power. It was somewhat familiar. Then, a tall and wild figure involuntarily appeared in his mind. Pitsung, it's his aura. A flash of light flashed in his eyes. Pitsung, the saint son of the heavenly monster mountain in the second heaven. He had the desolate monster physique of the 12 king physiques, which was very powerful. Back in the second heaven, he had fought with Pitsung several times. After that, they hadn't met again. He didn't expect that at this time, he would feel Pitsung's aura from this Taoist God Withered. That kind of demonic power was unique to the desolate monster physique. What did you see? Wishing Crocodile asked him. I saw something, but I don't understand it very well. Lin Tian now. He frowned and stared at this Taoist god withered. How could this person have the unique demonic power of the desolate monster physique Patsung? Boom! Divine energy surged. In front, Yitong and Taoist god withered fought. The Sun Heart Sutra operated very quickly. Sword lights slashed in all directions, and the Sun Divine I could see through all things. Even though it was difficult for her to face a super powerhouse who had fallen from the Emperor realm, she still fought very bravely. Her slender body seemed to be forged from gold. Good, good, good! Very good! Taoist god with its eyes flashed. He wanted to seize Yitong's body and the Sun Divine Eye. The stronger Yitong was, the happier he would be. Because the stronger Yitong was, the greater the benefits of seizing Yitong's body and Divine Eye would be for him. Yitong didn't say anything. Sword light swept across the sky. Her battle intent was very strong. However, the huge gap in cultivation couldn't be closed with a strong battle intent. Facing Taoist god withered, Yitong was no match. Her body was almost destroyed several times. Bright red blood dyed her body red, and there were several transparent bloody holes on her body. One! Blood-colored flames surged out of Yitong's body. They carried traces of divine aura and quickly healed her injuries. Sun Nirvana technique. Good, good, good! Not only is your body and divine eye unparalleled, the various ancient scriptures and divine techniques in your body are also very shocking. Very good! All of these will be mine! Taoist god Withered's eyes were even more greedy. With a rumble, Tao Law surged out of his body. There wasn't just one type, but a total of 9 types, and all of them were extraordinary. 9 types of great Tao interweaved in every corner of this space. They mightily pressed down on Yitong. This scene was very shocking. With such a dense Tao light pressing down, even an early-stage Emperor Realm expert would be moved. After all, Taoist god Withered was originally at the 3rd heaven of the Emperor Realm. After his cultivation fell, he was only at the half-step Emperor Realm. His combat strength naturally couldn't be measured by the half-step Emperor Realm. His true combat strength was far beyond this level. For a moment, there were light chi-chi-chi sounds. Every inch of space was suppressed. The aura was terrifying. Kid, it's time to make a move. This move should be that old bastard's full strength. Little Yitong won't be able to block it. In the distance, Wishing Crocodile quickly said. Lin Tian nodded. He naturally knew. Boom! In front of him, endless divine light pressed down. 9 types of light of the way surrounded Yitong, suppressing everything. Facing such an attack, the Sun Eye was useless at this moment. This made Yitong a little anxious. It was also at this moment that a voice rang out from the side. It's fine. Don't worry. A light sound of the air being torn apart resounded as Lin Tian strode over from afar and silently appeared by Yitong's side. Chapter 1261. The dense rays of light were all annihilated, and Lin Tian appeared silently. Yitong was stunned, and his expression changed instantly. Master? Yitong was shocked, and then revealed a look of joy. He never thought that Lin Tian would appear in this place. It had been more than 10 years since they parted. Now that they met again, he was overjoyed. He was now an adult, no longer an ignorant child. When he saw Lin Tian at this time, after being surprised, he hurriedly took a step back and bowed to Lin Tian seriously. Lin Tian smiled, using a gentle strength to help him up. Be casual. Our lineage doesn't need these superficial etiquettes, he said. An old drunkard, and he had never been particular about etiquette. Every time they met, he would not salute, and he rarely even called him master. However, he respected an old drunkard from the bottom of his heart. He was the person he respected the most in this world. Hey, there's still me. Wishing Crocodile curled his lips. Yitong looked at Wishing Crocodile and scratched his head. There was a trace of childishness on his cheeks. Uncle Crocodile, long time no see. Yeah. Little Taichu waved its claws and greeted Yitong. Yitong looked at little Taichu and opened his mouth. He did not know who little Taichu was, because this was the first time he had seen little Taichu. However, he was very smart. After being stunned for a moment, he responded to little Taichu. "Hello, little Uncle Master." "Yeah." Little Taichu's big eyes curved into crescents. It seemed very happy. With a wave of its little claws, it took out a few myriad spirit fruits and handed them to Yi Tong, shrouded in 6-colored divine light, as if it was giving a greeting gift. These were the fruits that it had picked when it left Ethereal Mountain, and it had picked a lot of them. There were as many as 200 of them. "Million spirit fruit!" Yi Tong was shocked. She clearly recognized this item. Even for half-step Emperor rank experts, it was a rare treasure. "Yeah." Little Taichu urged Yi Tong to accept it. Yi Tong tilted her head and looked at Lin Tian. "It's fine. Just accept it. To your youngest martial uncle, this is just an ordinary fruit." Lin Tian now. Yi Tong nodded and took the myriad treasure's spiritual fruit from little Taichu. "Thank you, junior uncle." He carefully put away the myriad spirit fruit and then turned to look at Lin Tian. His eyes lit up with excitement. "Master, are you a reincarnated being? Really?" When the immortal ghost emperors saw through Lin Tian's constitution, almost everyone in the 10 Directions Heaven domain knew about Lin Tian's constitution. Naturally, he already knew about it. "Yes, it's a reincarnated body." Lin Tian nodded. Yi Tong's eyes lit up even more. She was clearly a young man, but her face still had a bit of childishness. "It really is a reincarnated body! So powerful!" He was even more excited. Reincarnated body, the most mysterious and powerful constitution in history. His master actually had such a constitution. "Reincarnated body!" A cold voice sounded from the other side. Taoist God Withered was shocked by Lin Tian's appearance. He stared at Lin Tian with a trace of greed. He wanted Lin Tian's reincarnation origin. At the same time, there was hatred and fear. The hatred was because of Lin Tian. Back then, Wu had reduced his cultivation by 7 small stages. He fell from the Emperor realm to the Nirvana realm. His cultivation was greatly damaged, and even now, he hadn't fully recovered. He couldn't enter the Emperor realm again. As for fear, it was clearly fear of the few people behind Lin Tian. Any one of them could easily crush him to death. Lin Tian tilted his head. At this moment, his gaze fell on Taoist God Withered. He didn't talk nonsense with the other party. He took a step forward and raised his hand. Divine light sealed the surroundings. Taoist God Withered's face darkened, and he said coldly, "Junior, don't think that you can do whatever you want just because you have a few people behind you. Even if my cultivation fell from the Emperor realm, I'm not your—" Suddenly, Taoist God Withered's expression changed. A very powerful force acted on the surroundings, and he couldn't move at all. "You!" He stared at Lin Tian, a look of shock on his face. Lin Tian had actually directly suppressed him at this moment. At the same time, Yi Tong was also moved. She had just fought with Taoist God Withered, so she knew very well how terrifying the other party was. But now, Lin Tian actually made Taoist God Withered lose his ability to move. "Damn it!" Taoist God Withered roared, mobilizing the divine power and great Tao in his body. He wanted to break through the suppression of Lin Tian's divine light. "Old man, don't waste your energy. Didn't you notice that Brat Lin has already become an emperor?" Wishing Crocodile curled his lips and said, "The 9th Heaven's desolate shrine, Yinyang Holy Church, Heavenly Demon Divine Sect, and Immortal Sword Island have all been destroyed by us. The 7 Ultimate Evil Emperor and the other old monsters have also gone to hell to play chess with the King of Hell. With your current strength, you still want to fight against them?" As soon as these words came out, Taoist God Withered was shocked. "Master has become an emperor?" Yi Tong couldn't help but exclaim. He didn't know the scale and level of the major forces mentioned by Wishing Crocodile, nor did he know the cultivation base of the 7 Ultimate Evil Emperor and the others. He only caught the news that Lin Tian had become an emperor, and his eyes widened immediately. After not seeing him for more than 10 years, his master had already stepped into the Emperor realm? That was a realm that could overlook the entire 10th heaven. Impossible! 5 years ago, he was only at the 6th heavenly layer of Nirvana realm. How could he enter the Emperor realm in 5 years? Moreover, how could the desolate shrine and the other major forces be destroyed so easily? This is impossible. Taoist God Withered was unwilling to believe it. He glanced at Wishing Crocodile and then stared at Lin Tian. This news was too shocking. Lin Tian looked at this person and didn't say anything. Divine light intertwined between his eyebrows, and a wisp of divine sense directly entered this person's sea of consciousness. He forcefully peeked into this person's sea of consciousness with his powerful Emperor-level strength. He wanted to figure out why this person had the unique demonic power of the desolate demon body, Patsung. Damn it! Get out! Taoist God Withered shouted. Lin Tian was very calm. He raised his hand and punched this person's abdomen. The pain caused this person to vomit blood, and his words were stopped. At the same time, his divine sense entered this person's sea of consciousness, and soon found what he wanted to know. Patsung is dead. He muttered to himself. From Taoist God Withered's sea of consciousness, he knew why this person had the unique demonic power of the desolate demon body, Patsung. It turned out that back then, he had killed Patsung with absolute strength, and then refined his desolate demon body source. He was a little dazed. That wild desolate demon body Patsung actually ended up in such a miserable state. Sad. He whispered. Desolate demon body Patsung, this was definitely a powerful figure, extremely powerful, a formidable opponent of his back then. Now, what he didn't expect was that such a wild and powerful expert would actually die like this, his life source refined by someone while he was still alive. He looked at Taoist God Withered, his eyes slightly colder. You like to refine other people's life source so much. Now, you can also have a taste of having your life source refined by others. As he spoke, he directly attacked. He operated the Saint Refining Treasure technique. His divine sense didn't enter the other party's body, nor did he accept the other party's flesh and blood essence. He just purely refined the other party's flesh and life source, causing the other party's flesh and blood essence and life source to scatter into the world. Speaking of which, although Patsung was an enemy of his back then, although he was very domineering and wild, he had always been straightforward and not pretentious at all. This enemy ended up in such a miserable state, refined by Taoist God Withered, which made him sigh. In addition, Taoist God Withered had also tried to seize his reincarnation source. At this moment, the two overlapped, which made him feel even more uncomfortable. At this time, his attack could be said to be very cruel. Ah! Taoist God Withered screamed, his voice incomparably mournful. Having his flesh and blood refined and his life source refined like this was really too painful. It was tens of millions of times more painful than having his flesh and blood cut by a blade. Stop! Stop! He screamed again and again. Lin Tian was expressionless. He operated the Saint Refining Treasure technique. Saint Refining light constantly poured into Taoist God Withered's body, suppressing him with absolute strength. He forcibly refined his opponent's flesh and blood essence and life source, causing his essence energy to rapidly dissipate. Stop! 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 Ah! Taoist God Withered screamed. This was a relatively long process. Lin Tian intended to make the other party suffer, so the process of refining the other party lasted for a full 2 hours before it ended. 2 hours later, his opponent's flesh and blood essence and life source had been completely refined. His essence energy drifted through the world and his body became like a withered corpse. With a flick of Lin Tian's finger, a ray of light entered the withered body of the other party, causing it to explode. Taoist God Withered's body and soul had been destroyed. Not too far away, Yi Tong shivered. Taoist God Withered's miserable death really made one's scalp tingle. But in the blink of an eye, his eyes lit up again. He excitedly stared at Lin Tian. So strong! He clenched his hands. They hadn't seen each other for more than 10 years. His master had become even stronger, so strong that he was excited and proud. Lin Tian crushed Taoist god withered and walked over. "Why are you fighting with him here?" he asked Yi Tong. Hearing his question, Wishing Crocodile also looked at Yi Tong curiously. "This?" Yi Tong paused and said in a small voice. "I went back to the Yi family and found that the old ancestor failed to break through to the enlightenment realm. His lifespan was greatly reduced, and he couldn't hold on much longer. So I came here to find a divine medicine to help the old ancestor heal his injuries and recover his lifespan. I found the divine medicine, and then I met that Taoist." Wishing Crocodile's eyes widened. "What? You actually came here and risked your life for that old thing?" More than 10 years ago, when Yi Tong was still young, the wife of the Yi family's head, Li Wanfu, conspired with her senior brother, the head of the True Moon Immortal sect, to dig out the sun god's eyes. One of them was placed on Li Wanfu's son, and the other was taken away by the head of the True Moon Immortal sect. At that time, little Yi Tong's parents were killed. After losing her eyes, she was left in a small attic. The Yi family didn't care about her at all. Only a loyal servant stayed by her bedside to take care of her. Even after knowing the truth, the old ancestor of this branch stopped Lin Tian from taking Yi Tong's divine eyes from Li Wanfu's son because he was worried that the divine eyes would be damaged. It had always remembered this matter. It didn't have any good feelings towards the Yi family. Now that it heard Yi Tong risking her life for the Yi family's old ancestor, it was a bit angry. Yi Tong could clearly feel that Wishing Crocodile was a bit angry. She carefully stood to the side, not daring to speak. Chapter 1262. Like Wishing Crocodile, Lin Tian did not have a good impression of the upper echelons of the Yi family. They were too cruel to Yi Tong when she was still young. Now that the Yi family patriarch was in trouble, it was not worth it for Yi Tong to risk her life in the Nirvana Abyss. One had to know that the Tao law of desolation in the Nirvana Abyss had yet to disperse. It was very scary. Yi Tong was very strong, had the sun god eye, and was in the Nirvana realm. However, it was still dangerous for her to come here. She might die if she was not careful. That said, even though that was the case, he still approved of Yi Tong's actions, and was very satisfied with them. Even though this disciple of his was treated so cruelly by the Yi clan ancestor and the others, he was still willing to come here and risk his life for the Yi clan ancestor. This showed that this disciple of his was very affectionate and valued the word, filial piety, very much. "The divine medicine has been found. Master will take care of a few more enemies in this heaven region and then accompany you back to the Yi family." Lin Tian andao. Yi Tong was delighted. "Thank you, Master." Lin Tian chuckled and shook his head. "Humph!" Wishing Crocodile snorted. He knew what Lin Tian was thinking. In fact, he also thought that Yi Tong's character was very good. However, when he thought of how the Yi family patriarch was so cruel to Yi Tong, and how Yi Tong was willing to sacrifice so much for him, he felt uncomfortable. Yi Tong looked at Wishing Crocodile and apologized carefully. "I'm sorry, Uncle Crocodile." He knew that Wishing Crocodile was feeling unjust for him. Wishing Crocodile snorted again and did not say anything else. Lin Tian glanced at Wishing Crocodile and did not say anything else. He tore a spatial rift in this place. "Let's go." He led Yi Tong, Little Taichu, and Wishing Crocodile inside. Darkness shrouded their field of vision, and in the next moment, they appeared outside a barren mountain in the fifth heaven. "This is tearing through the void to perform space movement. Amazing!" Yi Tong's eyes lit up. This kind of technique was very powerful. At the very least, one had to be a half-step emperor to do this. Lin Tian smiled as he looked at the barren mountain. He immediately made his move, and a beam of golden sword light shot straight into the depths of the mountain. With a honglong sound, this desolate mountain trembled greatly. The void collapsed, the ground split apart, smoke and dust surging. "Who is it?" At the same time, a cold voice sounded. The ground cracked, and a tall figure stepped out. This person's entire body was shrouded in emperor light, and there were thick emperor-level Tao laws intertwined around him. His aura was extremely powerful. Emperor! Yi Tong was shocked. Lin Tian's expression was very calm. He stepped forward and walked towards this person. Yuan Emperor Ancient Seal, do you still remember me? His voice was very calm, causing the tall figure's expression to change. Reincarnation body. It's you! Staring at Lin Tian, this tall figure's pupils suddenly shrank. This person was called Yuan Emperor Ancient Seal. When he was at the 9th layer of Emperor Realm, he went to seize Lin Tian's reincarnation source. However, Wu Yi directly reduced his cultivation by 7 small steps, causing him to fall to the 2nd layer of Emperor Realm. After 5 years, he recovered to the peak of the 3rd layer of Emperor Realm. At this time, when he saw Lin Tian, his eyes flickered, intertwining with various kinds of lights. Greed, hatred, and fear. What are you doing here? Staring at Lin Tian, this person said. At this time, this person didn't know what Lin Tian had done in the upper layers of Heaven region. He didn't know Lin Tian's true strength now. In his heart, he wanted to directly suppress Lin Tian here and seize the reincarnation source. However, after thinking about an old drunkard, the Beast Emperor, and Wu Yi behind Lin Tian, he finally suppressed this thought and didn't dare to be impulsive. The 3 of them were really too tyrannical and terrifying, especially Wu Yi. Just thinking about Wu Yi's appearance made him feel terrified. Nothing, just killing you. Lin Tian. Saying that, he walked towards the person, neither fast nor slow. Yuan Emperor Ancient Seal was stunned when he heard Lin Tian's words. Then he smiled coldly. Kill me? Because... Whoosh! The sound of something breaking through the air rang out, interrupting Yuan Emperor Ancient Seal's words. In the next instant, Lin Tian appeared beside this person. Yuan Emperor Ancient Seal was shocked. He didn't see how Lin Tian moved at all. You! Hum! Lin Tian raised his hand and slapped out the Emperor's palm together with the God Transformation Talisman, enveloping Yuan Emperor Ancient Seal. This palm force was extremely terrifying, causing Yuan Emperor Ancient Seal to tremble. He felt the threat of death in an instant. Stop! Puff! Blood splattered. Lin Tian's palm landed and smashed the person into pieces. Then, the God Transformation Talisman pressed down and enveloped the person's divine soul. With a scream, the person was annihilated. Yuan Emperor Ancient Seal had fallen. Not far away, Yi Tong was stunned. A true Emperor-level expert was killed by Lin Tian with one slap. What kind of terrifying combat power was that? So strong. He swallowed his saliva. This kind of strength had subverted his imagination. Of course, this made his eyes shine even brighter, and he seemed even more excited. After all, Lin Tian is his master. His master is so powerful, it's naturally something to be happy about. Lin Tian walked over and said, Let's go to the next place. According to Yen Yer's deduction, among the emperors who tried to seize his reincarnation essence, 3 of them are living in the 5th heaven. He tore open a void crack here and left with Yi Tong, Little Taichu, and Wishing Crocodile. In the next moment, he appeared in a canyon filled with black killing intent. This is another famous danger zone in the 5th heaven. Many people have died in this place. He brought Yi Tong, Little Taichu, and Wishing Crocodile here and directly slashed into the canyon. In the blink of an eye, a figure covered in intertwined emperor light rushed out, carrying a dense killing intent. It's an ancient emperor. However, after seeing Lin Tian, this person's expression changed. It's you! 5 years ago, he tried to seize Lin Tian's reincarnation essence. This ancient emperor naturally remembered Lin Tian's appearance. It's me, I'm here to settle the score with you. Lin Tian. Without any superfluous words, he directly took action, displaying the 4-symbol seal, instantly revealing the 5-layered Tao diagram of the 4 symbols. The 5-layered Tao diagram of the 4 symbols covered the sky, shrouding the ancient emperor under it, directly suppressing everything. The ancient emperor's face changed drastically on the spot. At this moment, he felt the horror of Lin Tian. You! He was shocked and angry, struggling desperately under the 5-layered Tao diagram of the 4 symbols. Unfortunately, it was useless. Buzz! The 5-layered Tao diagram of the 4 symbols trembled, and in the next moment, it overlapped and merged into one, evolving into a large silver vortex. With a puff sound, the silver vortex swallowed the ancient emperor, instantly crushing him, and even his divine soul was annihilated. When Yi Tong saw this scene, he was so excited that his body was trembling. Lin Tian turned around and walked back. Looking at the excited Yi Tong, he smiled slightly and said, "Okay, let's go to the Yi family now. His enemies in this heaven have all been found and killed." At this time, he tore open the cross-heaven barrier and left with Yi Tong, little Taichu, and Wishing Crocodile. The next moment, he appeared in the 6th heaven. Afterward, he tore open the void again, taking little Taichu and Wishing Crocodile to a huge mansion. Looking around, there are many palaces and pavilions in the mansion. The aura fluctuations inside are also very good. The plaque in front of the door is engraved with a big Yi family character. It's the 6th heaven's Yi family, the family where Yi Tong was born. Humph! Wishing Crocodile snorted softly. Coming here again, it was very uncomfortable. Lin Tian didn't feel very comfortable either. He didn't have a good impression of this place, but the expression on his face was very calm. "Let's go," he said to Yi Tong and walked towards the Yi family. There were several disciples guarding the main gate of the Yi family. Seeing someone approaching the family, they hurriedly greeted him. "Young Master Yi Tong." Someone saw Yi Tong and hurriedly saluted. Not long ago, Yi Tong returned to the Yi family. These people naturally recognized Yi Tong and respected Yi Tong very much. At the same time, these disciples of the Yi family also saw Lin Tian, and they were all shocked. This is that reincarnation form? It's really. Seeing Lin Tian, these disciples of the Yi family trembled. Some of them couldn't help but take a step back in horror. In the past, because of the undead ghost emperor, Lin Tian's special physique was exposed to the entire 10 heavens. Almost no one in the cultivation world didn't know about this matter. After that, Lin Tian's personal portrait and special physique were even written into a book and widely circulated. At this moment, seeing Lin Tian, these disciples of the Yi family naturally recognized him. The legendary strongest physique came to their family and stood in front of them, making these people's hearts palpitate. "Brothers, this is my teacher, she wants to go in with me," Yi Tong said. The disciples of the Yi family hurriedly nodded and quickly made way. "Please come in, come in." In fact, these disciples of the Yi family all knew that the legendary reincarnation form was the teacher of their young master Yi Tong. This matter had shocked the entire Yi family in the blink of an eye after Lin Tian's special physique was exposed. Now, everyone in the Yi family knew that Lin Tian, the reincarnation form, was Yi Tong's teacher. Lin Tian's face was expressionless. This wasn't his first time coming to the Yi family, so he directly followed Yi Tong into the Yi family. There were many disciples of the Yi family who came and went on a daily basis. As Lin Tian walked in, these people naturally saw Lin Tian. In an instant, all the disciples of the Yi family were greatly shocked. "It's that reincarnation form. She came to our family with young Master Yi Tong." This? Many people couldn't help but gulp. Chapter 1263. In the Yi family, the members of the Yi family felt their hearts palpitate. Seeing Lin Tian enter the Yi family with Yi Tong, many people couldn't help but tremble, and their eyes were full of awe. Lin Tian's face didn't have any emotional fluctuations. He followed Yi Tong into the depths of the Yi family, and came to the central pavilion of the Yi family. Little brother Lin! In the Yi family's pavilion, the high-level elders of the family were inside. They were guarding the current ancestor of the family who failed to break through to the enlightenment realm. At this time, seeing Lin Tian appear and enter the pavilion with Yi Tong, all of them were shocked. "You!" Seeing Lin Tian, the eyes of the elders of the family flickered. When Lin Tian was still in the 6th heaven, they already knew how powerful and terrifying Lin Tian was. He uprooted several great sects in the sixth heaven. Later, they learned that Lin Tianyi had fought his way to the ninth heavenly layer and obtained the legendary reincarnation king body. The entire Yi family was shocked. Now, seeing Lin Tian appear in the Yi family again, the hearts of the elders of the Yi family accelerated. Little brother. A cough sounded. In the Yi family's pavilion, there was a jade bed. The old ancestor of the Yi family was sitting cross-legged on it. There were many wrinkles on his cheeks, and his hair was white. The aura on his body was very weak, like a wisp of flame that could be extinguished at any time. Lin Tian looked at the old ancestor. He didn't have any emotional fluctuations, nor did he have anything to say. He just nodded calmly. Humph! Whooshing crocodile snorted coldly. He was very unhappy. The elders of the Yi family looked a little embarrassed. They naturally knew that Lin Tian and Whooshing crocodile didn't have a good impression of them, and they also knew the reason. More than 10 years ago, they were indeed very excessive to Yi Tong. Yi Tong looked at her master, then looked at the elders of the Yi family, and quickly walked to the front of the old ancestor of the Yi family. She took out a strange immortal plant with purple gold divine light flowing around it from the stone ring. Old ancestor, this is the purple gold dragon orchid. It can definitely heal your injuries. Purple gold dragon orchid? The divine medicine recorded in the ancient books? The elders of the Yi family were shocked. Their Yi family's strength was extraordinary, and could be considered to have been passed down for tens of thousands of years. However, this was the first time they had seen a divine medicine. At this time, when they saw the purple gold immortal stalk in Yi Tong's hand, they were both shocked and shocked. Little Tong. The Yi family's old ancestor trembled. Half a month ago, Yi Tong returned to the Yi family. After learning that he had failed to reach enlightenment, she left on the same day, saying that she was going to look for something. He didn't expect that she would come back with a divine medicine to heal his injuries. This moved him. At the same time, it made him feel even more guilty and uncomfortable. More than 10 years ago, the Yi family treated Yi Tong so cruelly. But now, Yi Tong treated him like this. Lin Tian stood calmly to the side, his face still expressionless. Whooshing crocodile snorted again. He didn't even bother to look at the elders of the Yi family. Little Tai Chu, on the other hand, was looking around with a curious look on his face. Old ancestor, relax. Yi Tong will heal you with the divine medicine. You will definitely recover soon, Yi Tong said. He had refined the purple gold divine orchid with his Nirvana realm cultivation and injected the essence of the divine medicine into the Yi family's old ancestor's body. Then, he used the Sun Heart Sutra and the Sun's Nirvana technique to guide the essence to heal the Yi family's old ancestor. For a moment, a rich fragrance wafted through the air. The Yi family's old ancestor's body trembled slightly. His essence, energy, and spirit quickly recovered. The white hair on his head gradually turned black. This made the Yi family elders excited. They clenched their fists. Their old ancestor was quickly recovering. 1. Yi Tong helped the Yi family's old ancestor heal. The golden divine light of the Sun Heart Sutra and the blood-red flames of the Sun's Nirvana technique surrounded the old ancestor. The light seemed very gentle. The Yi family's old ancestor's essence, energy, and spirit were rapidly recovering. The color of his face also gradually returned to normal. Soon, more than 15 minutes passed. Cough! At this moment, the Yi family's old ancestor suddenly trembled. He opened his mouth and coughed out a mouthful of blood. His essence, energy, and spirit rapidly weakened. Yi Tong was shocked. Old ancestor! The Yi family's upper echelons also turned pale. They were all shocked. What's going on? Just now he clearly... The elders were anxious. Yi Tong had just healed their Yi family's old ancestor. The old ancestor's essence, energy, and spirit were clearly improving rapidly. His aura was also strengthening. However, he suddenly coughed up blood. This change was too sudden. Blood gushed out of the Yi family's old ancestor's mouth. His already strengthened essence, energy, and spirit quickly fell. Although he was still slightly stronger than before, his condition did not improve by much. In essence, there was no obvious meaning. Forcefully breaking through to the enlightenment realm has failed. Various meridians are blocked. They were not cleaned up in time, causing the origin to be damaged. Now, even the divine medicine is useless. Whooshing Crocodile coldly snorted. It had lived for a very long time, several thousand years. The things it knew were far beyond what Yi Tong could compare to. Moreover, its cultivation was also much higher than Yi Tong's. Naturally, it could see through the Yi family's old ancestors' current condition. What? This made the expressions of the Yi family's elders all change. Even with divine medicine, they still couldn't save their clan's ancestor? Yi Tong was also shocked. She looked at Whooshing Crocodile and whispered, "Uncle Crocodile, can you?" When he saw Whooshing Crocodile, he immediately saw through the Yi family's old ancestors' current condition. He felt that Whooshing Crocodile should have a way to save the Yi family's old ancestor. He wanted to ask Whooshing Crocodile for help. Whooshing Crocodile naturally knew that Yi Tong wanted to ask it for help. It glanced at the Yi family's old ancestor and snorted coldly. Then it said to Yi Tong, "Don't look at me. No one below the level of an emperor can save him." When those words were spoken, it caused the elders of the Yi family to be shocked again. All of them trembled, and their expressions became very unsightly. Only an emperor-level existence can save him. The Yi family elders' expressions turned gloomy. The Yi family's old ancestor was the strongest person in this generation of the Yi family. He was the pillar of the Yi family. Once the old ancestor passed away, it would undoubtedly be a huge blow to the Yi family. But in this situation, they had no other choice. Only an emperor-level existence could save the Yi family's old ancestor. This kind of existence was high and mighty and stood at the top of the pyramid in the 10 directions celestial domains. Their small Yi family didn't even have a godly medicine. How could they possibly ask for help from such an existence? "Forget it, this is fate." The Yi family's old ancestor sighed and looked at Yi Tong with a smile. "Child, it's been hard on you." After failing to break through to the enlightenment realm, the Yi family's old ancestor had aged a lot. Just one look and one could tell that he already had one foot in the coffin. Yi Tong shook his head and looked at Lin Tian. "Ma master." He looked at Lin Tian with a trace of anticipation in his eyes. He already knew that his master was at the level of an emperor. When he met Yi Tong's gaze, Lin Tian naturally knew what his number one disciple was thinking. He sighed in his heart. This disciple of his was really filial. He didn't say anything. He looked at the Yi family's old ancestor and pointed a finger. A golden light quickly entered the old ancestor's body. In an instant, the Yi family's old ancestor's body seemed to be burning. His essence, energy, and spirit began to rise at a terrifying speed. The blocked meridians in his body were unblocked in the blink of an eye, and the aura he emitted began to rise exponentially. "This is?" The Yi family's elders were shocked. At the same time, the Yi family's old ancestor was even more shocked. He could clearly feel the changes happening to his body. Buzz! The golden divine light was dense and enveloped the Yi family's old ancestor, combing through his meridians, sea of consciousness, and origin. In the blink of an eye, dozens of breaths passed. The Yi family's old ancestor's injuries were completely healed. His essence, energy, and spirit reached an extremely high point, charging all the way to the peak of the half-step enlightenment realm. The Yi family's elders were pleasantly surprised. After this, the Yi family's old ancestor's aura continued to rise. After dozens of breaths passed, there was a loud boom. An extremely powerful aura spread out from the Yi family's old ancestor's body, directly sweeping up a shocking hurricane in the clan pavilion. This is enlightenment. Enlightenment realm? That's right. It's the enlightenment realm. This is the aura of the enlightenment realm, the true aura of the enlightenment realm. The Yi family's elders couldn't hide their excitement. Not only had their old ancestor of this generation fully recovered from his injuries, but he had also stepped into the enlightenment realm at this time. For the Yi family, this was an extremely joyous occasion. Breaking and rebuilding, transcending the primitive world. This old thing's quite lucky. Whooshing Crocodile snorted. He didn't have a good impression of the Yi family's old ancestor at all. The Yi family's old ancestor's aura was still rising. After dozens of breaths, it finally stabilized. His realm stopped at the peak of the first heaven of Enlightenment realm. This. Looking at his own hands, the Yi family's old ancestor trembled slightly. He was also somewhat excited. Old ancestor. The Yi family's elders all went up to him, their faces filled with surprise and joy. Yi Tong also smiled. He was born in the Yi family. Although he had left the clan, the blood of the Yi family still flowed in his body. Now that he saw the Yi family's old ancestor recover from his injuries, escape the threat of death, and break through to a higher realm, he was naturally happy. He looked at Lin Tian and whispered, "Thank you, master." He knew that Lin Tian had helped him. Lin Tian smiled and shook his head. At this time, the Yi family's old ancestor and the Yi family's elders heard Yi Tong's voice and came back to their senses. They all trembled and quickly looked at Lin Tian. "Thank you, young man." "Thank you, brother Lin." "Thank you? I can't thank you enough." "Thank you so much." The Yi family's elders thanked Lin Tian now at the same time. The Yi family's old ancestor even stood up and bowed to Lin Tian. At the same time, amidst their excitement, the Yi family's elders and Yi family's old ancestor suddenly felt their hearts tremble. Their eyes were filled with shock, especially the Yi family's old ancestor. At this time, he couldn't help but tremble. Previously, he had heard Whooshing Crocodile say that no one below the level of an emperor could heal his current injuries. But now, Lin Tianji had just casually pointed a finger and healed his injuries. Moreover, he had even surpassed his previous level and broken through to a higher realm. Then, wouldn't Lin Tian's current cultivation be at the level of an emperor? Chapter 1264. The Yi family members were all stunned. They looked at Lin Tian with flickering eyes and their hearts were beating rapidly. Injuries that could not be healed by anyone under the emperor rank were now healed by Lin Tian. Moreover, it was done so easily. He only needed to point a finger to do it. The message that this matter displayed was self-evident. Little brother, your cultivation right now, could it be that you've already reached? The Yi family's ancestor was trembling with fear. Lin Tian glanced at the Yi family's ancestor and didn't say anything. "Let's go." He called out to Yi Tong and walked out of the Yi family's pavilion. Accompanying Yi Tong to the Yi family was already done. He didn't want to stay in the Yi family for too long. Whooshing Crocodile humphed and also walked out. Yi Tong turned around and bowed to the Yi family's elders and Yi family's ancestor. Then, she followed Lin Tian and ran out. The Yi family's ancestor and Yi family's elders couldn't help but chase after them. They saw the scene of Lin Tian breaking open the heaven domain barrier and bringing Yi Tong, Whooshing Crocodile, and little Taichu with him as they disappeared from the Yi family's premises. Tearing open the heaven domain barrier with his bare hands and moving across heaven domains, this requires at least a half-step emperor rank to do this. Injuries that no one under the emperor rank can heal, he healed. Moreover, this scene, he really reached the emperor rank, an emperor rank reincarnation body. The Yi family's elders and Yi family's ancestor were all trembling. Emperor rank, Little Tong's master, that little brother, actually reached the emperor rank. The voices of several great figures from this bloodline were trembling. At this moment, all of them were shocked, overwhelmed with shock, all of them staring blankly into space. Yi Tong's master used the reincarnation physique, the most mysterious and most powerful king physique in history, to become an emperor. It could be said that she was unparalleled in the world. Meanwhile, Yi Tong was treated like that by them back then. She was taken away from the Yi family by Lin Tian. Although Yi Tong still considered herself a member of the Yi family and was willing to help them, in reality, they knew that Yi Tong and their Yi family no longer had any relationship. They thought about it. If she hadn't treated Yi Tong that way back then, and Yi Tong was still a true member of the Yi family, then how could Lin Tian's attitude towards the Yi family be the same as it was now? If they hadn't treated Yi Tong like that back then the Yi family would have an emperor-level powerhouse standing behind them. Moreover, it was an emperor-level reincarnated body. Several elders of the Yi family, and the old ancestor of the Yi family trembled. They felt regret and deep shame. Lin Tian left the Yi family and tore through the heavens barrier. At this moment, with a flash of light, he stepped out of the void. Looking around, they entered a great world with beautiful mountains and rivers. Mountains were connected to each other, and they could see surging rivers in the distance. The water splashed several meters high, and the waves were turbulent. The fourth heaven, Wishing Crocodile said. After leaving the Yi family, Lin Tian tore through the heavens barrier and directly entered the fourth heaven from the sixth heaven. Amazing! Yi Tong was a little excited. Passing through the heavens barrier like this made him a little excited. Lin Tian smiled and glanced at this heaven. Soon after, he tore through the void again and appeared in a swamp. Clang! He attacked, and the sword light slashed into the depths of the swamp. A shocking sword aura surged, and soon, a tall emperor rushed out, carrying a cold and angry intent. Then, this person saw Lin Tian and was moved again. It's you! 5 years ago, this person also went to seize Lin Tian's reincarnation origin, so he naturally remembered Lin Tian and recognized him at a glance. It's me. I'm here to kill you! Lin Tian was very direct. As soon as his words fell, he attacked ruthlessly. The Chaos Emperor fist shook the sky, and the roar of dragons and phoenixes echoed as it blasted towards this person. This was a terrifying attack, causing the tall emperor to change his expression on the spot. You pooh! A terrifying punch directly obliterated this person's body and soul. This was the strongest monarch physique of a third firmament emperor. Under the sky venerable realm, no one could be his opponent. So strong! It wasn't the first time Yi Tong saw Lin Tian kill an emperor so easily, but seeing this scene at this time, she still felt shocked and excited. Her Nirvana realm body trembled slightly. Lin Tian smiled and said, Next place. According to Yen Yer's calculation, he passed through 5 more areas in the fourth heaven, found 5 old emperors who tried to seize his reincarnation origin, and directly killed them. So far, all the people who tried to seize his reincarnation origin were killed by him. No one escaped. Finally, they are all dealt with. Heh, that immortal spirit body girl's divine art is really superb. Wishing Crocodile clicked his tongue and said, Indeed. Lin Tian nodded. Speaking of which, without Yen Yer's help, it would be absolutely impossible for him to find all these old emperors. It would be good if he could find 3 or 5 of them, because the locations of those people were very hidden, and they were arranged with special means. Even if a powerful emperor's divine sense swept over them, it would be difficult to find them. Then, where are we going now? Are we going directly to the first heaven to find your sister and your little lovers? Wishing Crocodile said. When he heard the 5 elements alligator's words, even though Lin Tian knew that this fellow was purposely mocking him, Lin Shi, Ji Yu and the others' figures still couldn't help but appear in his mind, wisps of gentle light involuntarily appearing in his eyes. It has been more than 10 years since he last saw them. He naturally missed them very much. He smiled and said, No, we will go all the way from this heaven to the first heaven to visit some old friends. At this time, the old friends he mentioned were naturally his old friends in the true sense. Let's go. He looked at a certain place in the fourth heaven, smiled faintly, tore open the void, and left with Yi Tong and the others. Soon after, he took Yi Tong, Wishing Crocodile, and little Tai Shu to a huge tribe. Looking around, there are 3 towering mountains located in the surroundings. The aura intertwined with each other is very rich. It can be described as astonishing. It's the barbarian race of the fourth heaven. Lin Tian came here. There was an old friend of his here, the barbarian king body, Fanning Xiong. Roar! There are tall beasts near the barbarian race. They coexist peacefully with the barbarian race, exuding thick monster chi. Lin Tian walked into the barbarian race with Yi Tong, Wishing Crocodile, and little Tai Chu, causing a huge uproar. Little brother Lin! In this tribe, the barbarian race's old ancestor, the barbarian race's patriarch, a group of great elders, and ordinary elders all came out to greet him. Back then, their clan had fought alongside Lin Tian, working together to exterminate the brutal insectoid race. Seeing Lin Tian at this time, the barbarians were excited. Not only because of the arrival of Lin Tian, who fought side by side with them, but also because they all knew that Lin Tian is the legendary body of reincarnation. "Brother Lin!" An excited voice sounded. In the depths of the mountains behind the barbarian race, a tall and burly figure rushed out. The muscles on his body were exposed like a dragon, full of terrifying power. As soon as he came up, he gave Lin Tian a bear hug. "Hero, long time no see." Lin Tian smiled and said, "This tall and burly figure is the holy son of this generation of the barbarian race, one of the 12 king bodies, Fanning Xiong. In the past, because of him, Fanning Xiong was hunted down by the insect race and almost died. At this time, he looked at Fanning Xiong and clearly felt Fanning Xiong's strength. After so many years, Fanning Xiong was already at the second sky of Nirvana realm. In terms of physical strength, no one under the Emperor realm could compare with him. This was the unique advantage of the barbarian king body. His physical strength was invincible, and he could throw a mountain and break 10,000 laws. In terms of physical strength, no one in the same realm could suppress the barbarian king body except for him who is a body of reincarnation. "Let's get drunk today!" Fanning Xiong was very excited to see his old friend after more than 10 years. He even forgot that Lin Tian is a body of reincarnation. "Okay." Lin Tian smiled and said. On this night, bonfires were set up in the main tribe of the barbarian race. Jars of immortal wine were brought out and piled up on the ground to celebrate the arrival of Lin Tian. They were also very enthusiastic towards Yitong, Wishing Crocodile, and Little Tai Chu. His loud laughter echoed in the tribe for a long time. Next, Lin Tian stayed in the main tribe of the barbarian race for 3 days. Then, he said goodbye to Fanning Xiong, the ancestor of the barbarian race, and the others. When he left, he brought out a jade-like bone hammer. It was a low-grade heavenly treasure, and he gave it to the berserkers as a treasure armament to protect their race. He had obtained it when he killed dozens of monarchs who had tried to steal his origin of reincarnation. It's too precious. We can't take it. Little brother, please keep it." The ancestor of the barbarian race and the others declined. This was a heavenly treasure, a divine item of this level. Its value was too high. Even ordinary emperors didn't have one because the difficulty of refining such a divine item was too high. Moreover, the materials were very hard to find. "It's okay. I have other heavenly treasures. You don't have to decline." Lin Tian Andao. In the end, under his insistence, the ancestor of the barbarian race and the others accepted the heavenly treasure with trembling hands. Their eyes were full of excitement. "Thank you? Thank you, little brother." The barbarian race experts kept thanking him. Seniors are too polite. Lin Tian smiled and shook his head. He bid farewell to Fanning Xiong again, the ancestor of the barbarian race clansmen, and the supreme elders of the barbarian race. Then, he left the main tribe of the barbarian race with Yitong and the others. After leaving the main tribe of the barbarian race for some distance, he tore open a crack in the void and stepped into it with Yitong, Wishing Crocodile, and Little Tai Chu. After leaving the fourth heaven, he stepped out of the void and appeared in a new world. Boom! Chapter 1265. The vast ocean stretched as far as the eye could see, and the waves inside were rolling, exuding an astonishing aura. As far as the eye could see, there were places on the surface of the sea where even the void was distorted due to the waves. This is the border between the third heaven's prosperous continent and the barbarian land. We are now on the barbarian land's side, Wishing Crocodile said, recognizing the vast ocean at a glance. Yes, it's the border of the heavenly river. Lin Tian nodded. He deliberately tore open the heavenly barrier to come here. Back when his cultivation was still weak, in order to avoid the pursuit of the powerhouses from the desolate shrine, he once crossed this heavenly river from the other side of the prosperous continent to the barbarian land. Now that he has stepped into the Emperor realm, he wants to cross this heavenly river from the sky and take a good look at it. Let's go, we'll cross it from here. As he spoke, he took a step forward and entered the boundary of the celestial river. He stepped on the surface of the celestial river and headed to the other side. You're so boring. Wishing Crocodile rolled its eyes and flapped its wings to follow. Little Taichu laid on Lin Tian's shoulder, looking around curiously, while Yitong quietly followed behind Lin Tian. Boom! The heavenly river seemed to have a consciousness. As soon as Lin Tian and the others stepped into the heavenly river, the entire heavenly river suddenly became restless. The originally fierce waves became even more turbulent, and the rolling waves rushed into the sky, rolling up hundreds of meters high. Moreover, there was a terrifying roar coming from the bottom of the heavenly river. In the blink of an eye, sea beasts appeared. The smallest one was dozens of meters long, and the largest one was as big as a mountain, setting off terrifying waves on the heavenly river. Roar! These sea beasts roared and directly rushed towards Lin Tian and the others. Lin Tian looked very calm. He looked at these sea beasts and didn't release a trace of pressure until they approached. Suddenly, these sea beasts couldn't help but tremble. Their ferocious appearance instantly disappeared without a trace. Like a deflated balloon, they suddenly became listless and looked at Lin Tian with some panic and fear. After all, Lin Tian was now at the third heaven of the Emperor realm. How could ordinary beasts not be afraid of him? On the heavenly river, the waves were crashing. Lin Tian didn't care about the ferocious beasts that rushed here. He stepped on the surface of the heavenly river and headed towards Shin continent. During this process, he was observing his surroundings. The surface of the celestial river was white, and the waves were splashing. With his emperor-rank divine senses, he discovered that there were many ferocious beasts hiding under the surface of the water. Some had fins, some had scales, and some had horns. Every single one of them was staring at the surface of the water. However, none of them attacked. Clearly, at this time, these ferocious beasts also felt the terror of Lin Tian's group and did not dare to move. This Milky Way is very wide, much more exaggerated than the vast seas of the ninth heaven, Wishing Crocodile said. Indeed. Lin Tian nodded. He walked on the water surface and observed the surface of the celestial river. He observed the bottom of the celestial river. Waves surged around him, but they couldn't get close to his body. The waves were all blocked by the monarch aura around his body. Whoosh! After walking for tens of thousands of meters, some ferocious beasts rushed towards Lin Tian's group. However, in the next moment, when they approached Lin Tian, all the ferocious beasts trembled at the same time. Obviously, they all felt the terrifying aura exuded by Lin Tian, and they suddenly became obedient. Lin Tian didn't care. He continued to walk towards Shin continent. Whoosh! The waves of the heavenly river were rolling, intertwining with a very amazing aura, causing the void above to distort. This scene was a bit shocking, but Lin Tian didn't feel anything when he looked at it now. When I accidentally got close to this heavenly river, I was terrified at that time. Now that I'm close again, it's so natural. He couldn't help but sigh. As my cultivation continues to increase, the way I look at things really changes a lot. Nonsense, do you even need to say that? Wishing Crocodile curled its lips. The group walked towards the opposite side. After an unknown amount of time, the sound of the water hitting the riverbank could be heard. Looking around, they had arrived at the other side of the heavenly river. It was a red riverbank, and they could see piles of sea sand. Lin Tian walked forward. Soon, he stepped out of the range of the heavenly river. Standing in this place, he glanced around, and there was a faint light of dragon patterns intertwined in his eyes. A hidden immortal trapping pattern, he muttered to himself. Back then, in order to avoid the pursuit of the experts from the Desolation Shrine, he destroyed more than 10 immortal meridians to injure the enemy and accidentally landed in this place. He was close to the border of the heavenly river and couldn't retreat. At that time, even though he had already mastered the dragon burial scripture, he didn't understand what was going on. But now, it was different. His cultivation was much stronger than before, and he instantly saw through the essence of this place. There was a very hidden immortal trapping pattern below. Without the cultivation of the enlightenment realm, it was impossible to see it. Moreover, once one stepped into such a terrain, one's strength would be suppressed, and it would be difficult to walk out of this place. He took a look and saw that this immortal trapping pattern covered an area of 1,000 feet. It was deeply rooted and complicated. 1,000 feet of the heavenly river, there's no way out. So that's how it is, he muttered to himself. Kid, what are you muttering about? Wishing Crocodile asked. Nothing. Let's go. Lin Tian now. Dragon patterns interweaved under his feet, easily breaking through the immortal trapping pattern here. Finally, he glanced at the border of the heavenly river behind him, and left. After that, he directly tore open a void crack, bringing Yitong, Wishing Crocodile, and little Taichu into it. With a buzz, the space closed, and their vision fell into darkness. Of course, this process didn't last long. Almost in the next moment, light appeared in front of them, and they stepped out of the void. As far as the eye could see, there was a vast group of palaces in front of them. They were located in an immortal mountain, and their aura was somewhat extraordinary. It was a great power in the third heaven, Ascension Dao sect. Kid, you are the sect master of this place. Wishing Crocodile clicked his tongue and said, The previous Ascension Dao sect master really had good vision, passing the position of sect master to you. Now there is an emperor-level reincarnation body sect master. Yitong has been here before, Yitong said. When they parted, Lin Tian had asked him to temporarily cultivate in the Ascension Dao sect. He had stayed here for a period of time. Little Taichu's big eyes were very bright. He looked around curiously. Lin Tian had a smile on his face. He didn't say anything and walked into the Ascension Dao sect. At this time, he was no longer flying in the air. Instead, he landed outside the Ascension Dao sect and walked forward on foot. Soon, he arrived in front of the main gate of the Ascension Dao sect, causing a huge commotion. Sect Master? The Sect Master is back! Quick! Quickly report to the elders and grand elders! Inside the Ascension Dao sect, many disciples were extremely excited. When the Ascension Dao sect suffered a calamity, the Sect Master of the Formless Immortal sect and the Golden Flames Dao sect attacked together. Lin Tian alone turned the tide and saved the people of the Ascension Dao sect. Then, facing the coercion of the Formless Immortal sect, he took the initiative to leave the Ascension Dao sect. Such loyalty made everyone in the Ascension Dao sect incomparably convinced and respected him. Then, 5 years ago, Lin Tian fought alone in the 9th heaven. The reincarnation physique was exposed by the immortal Ghost Emperor, causing almost everyone in the cultivation world of the 10 heavens to know about it. Naturally, everyone in the Ascension Dao sect also knew about it, causing the entire Ascension Dao sect to boil with excitement. Their new sect master of this generation was actually the most mysterious and powerful reincarnation physique in history. Sect Master! At this moment, all the disciples and deacons in the Ascension Dao sect, no matter what they were doing at this moment, swarmed out like a swarm of bees. All of them were excited and bowed respectfully to Lin Tian. For the Ascension Dao sect, Lin Tian, the sect master, was almost never in the Ascension Dao sect. However, in the history of the Ascension Dao sect, he was undoubtedly the most prestigious sect master, even surpassing the founder of the Ascension Dao sect. Everyone get up. Lin Tian was very calm. Thank you, sect master. The disciples of the Ascension Dao sect stood up, but the light in their eyes was even brighter. Many young disciples stared straight at Lin Tian, their eyes shining like stars. It was as if they wanted to swallow Lin Tian whole. Sect Master, are you really a reincarnation physique? Lin Tian looked very young and very gentle, without the slightest arrogance of a sect master. Although the disciples of the Ascension Dao sect respected him very much, they were not afraid of him. At this time, someone couldn't help but ask. All of a sudden, pairs of eyes lit up in this place, all of them staring straight at Lin Tian. Although these people knew about this 5 years ago, at this time, they still couldn't help but want to hear Lin Tian say it. Yes, it's like this, Lin Tian said with a smile. Suddenly, the place was in an uproar again. It's really a reincarnation physique. So powerful. Sect Master is so powerful. The strongest king physique. Our sect master is the most powerful king physique in history. The disciples of the Ascension Dao sect were very excited. Lin Tian chatted with the disciples of the Ascension Dao sect with a smile. He answered all the questions of these disciples one by one. In the process, he learned a lot of things. After more than 10 years, with the help of some ancient scriptures and divine weapons that he left behind, the Ascension Dao sect has become the overlord of the third heaven. Whether it is in the Xing continent or the barbarian land, no other force can compare to it. Not bad. He nodded secretly in his heart. In fact, he wasn't surprised at all about this. After all, the various ancient scriptures, Ling Jing, and the divine weapon Baodan that he left behind are not comparable to any other force in the third heaven. With the help of these ancient scriptures, Ling Jing, and the divine weapon Baodan, after more than 10 years, the Ascension Dao sect will naturally advance by leaps and bounds. It's normal for it to become the first force in the third heaven. It's an inevitable outcome. Lin Tian. A voice sounded, and more than a dozen figures flashed in the distance, quickly moving towards this place. To read the latest novel, please visit. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.